out in terms of range of motion. Otherwise, stay strong and pulse, pulse, pulse. You got it. Shoulders relaxed, roll back. Bracing to that core, open up that heart, open up that chest. Hey, legs. Less than 15 seconds. Get ready to hold. And squeeze, hold, and breathe. Woo. How are you feeling right now? You're looking good. I'm very happy that you showed up today and you chose to train with me. Good job. Stay seated or stand up for that abdominal crunch with that ring resistance. Let's go. Now, if you don't have access to your ring, what's another good move? If you've been training with me for some time, you might be brand new. This might be your first workout with me. That seated sit up. You can grab a weight, a water bottle for extra resistance. Less than 20 seconds. Really squeeze those abs. Squeeze that bum. Oh yeah, tighten up those glutes. Strong core. Last few seconds. Cardio coming up. Finishing up right here. Good job. Lower that ring or that weight. Going into a side kick, lean over, extend. If you want to stand up, you're welcome to stand up, right? This is what it looks like. Lean over, toes out, extend, set up. So it's a knee, kick, knee, return. Low kick. So flex your options. You're down to your last 20 seconds here. Oh yeah. Power through. Tightening up those abdominals, those glutes, and breathe. Quick beat. Shake it out. If you're seated, you're here. Deep inhale up. Look at those fingers, toes. Exhale, open up. Nice and tall. Breathe in. Exhale. Last one. Good job. If you are up, please have a seat with me here. Walk the legs, feet out. Nice and tall, lengthen. And exhale to one side. Center, breathe in, shoulders relaxed, roll back. Exhale here, other direction. If you enjoyed yourself, please be sure to share. Maybe share this video in someone's DM. Someone might need to work out. Show them some love. Breathe in. Walk your legs, feet in. Exhale, forward fold. Wiggle those fingers, toes. Roll it up. Hips, nice and tall. Stand up. Exhale, press that lower back. Push those hips forward. Center, breathing into the nose. Exhale a little bit further, a little bit deeper if you can. Nice work. Legs are closed. Let's rock. Rotate here. Big movement. When you're ready, change directions. Center, nice and tall. Inhale up. Exhale, have a seat. Massage your quads. Nice and tall. Breathe in. Exhale, massage those quads. Straighten out one leg. Breathe in, lengthen. Exhale, reach for those toes as far as you can. Think about folding that body in half. Legs straight up, sit back, relax. Point and flex. Point and flex. You know what we're getting at, right? Rotate. We're gonna go right into album pose. Full range. Change directions. Woo. Bring that knee in towards the chest. Gentle hug. Cross it. Pose. Rock to this beat. Open up. Good work. What are you grateful for today? I made it through today's workout. That's an accomplishment, right? Even if you're just doing 15 minutes, release opposite leg. Straighten it out. Breathe in, lengthen. Exhale. Hold the body in half, coming down as far as you can. Lowering from that chest versus the head. So just remember, every minute counts. Every time you come in. If you're getting back into it, add a couple of extra minutes. Sit back, rotate. Change directions. We're gonna add that point and flex. Good job, point flex, point flex. Bring that knee in towards the chest. Woo. Good job. Strike a pose. Oh yeah. Breathing into the nose, exhale. Gently pressing onto that thigh, outer thigh glute stretch. Working the hands and wrists. Breathing through that core. Release. Rotate the wrist. Change directions. Move those feet. Hands open and close. Mobility. Nice and tall. Deep inhale up. Exhale. Release. Nice and tall. Breathing through that core. Belly button to spine. Lengthen. Stretch. Exhale. Open up. One more. Look forward to seeing you soon. Exhale. Relax. And as always, you rock.
Hello everyone, I'm Natalia Bilbao, and here's what's happening in LA this week. It's been 38 years since a new federal holiday was established in America. In 1983, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was signed into law by President Ronald Reagan. But the holiday itself would not actually be observed until 3 years later in 1986. Well, as you may have heard, we have a newly established federal holiday, and President Biden signed this new law just in time to observe it the same year. Channel 35 was at Leimert Park to report on an annual neighborhood event and America's newest national holiday, Juneteenth.
Never in my life did I dream that Juneteenth would be a federal holiday, and the fact that it's announced on the same day Leimert Park is being reopened is God-driven. So we just want to thank God and the city leadership for making sure that we can enjoy this historic moment in history.
It took 152 years since slavery ended for this day to come, and it's just a great celebration.
The idea of Juneteenth means, number one, you celebrate a birthday. You commemorate an auspicious occasion. So we are doing it in a celebratory way.
The symbolism of Juneteenth should not be ignored. It is powerful in and of itself. The substance that it represents is even better. And that's what we lay claim to today as we attempt to move it forward to fulfill the promises of democracy.
Pues es algo bellísimo, you know? Es una cultura, si te interesas en la cultura de América, tienes que saber que la cultura americana es afroamericana.
This is an annual event. Look forward to Juneteenth 2022, when the Vision Theater will be open by that time, or when the Metro line will be running by that time.
We're very happy and ecstatic that the park is open now, that we can enjoy, bring our family, our children can play and eat in it. So we want to thank City Councilman Mark Lee Thomas for making sure the park is reopened. So we're excited.
With Independence Day right around the corner, the concern over illegal fireworks and too much partying are paramount to city agencies like Animal Services, the Fire Department, and LAPD. In a recent interview with Channel 35, LAFD Captain Eric Scott succinctly puts the reasons for fireworks safety into one phrase: pets, vets, and kids. Take a look.
Residents of Los Angeles should not set off fireworks really for three big reasons: pets, vets, and kids. We see pets that run away, they're scared, they don't know what's happening. It's the #1 day of the year that people lose those pets, and for many people it's like a family member to them.
One of the best ways to be able to keep your pets safe during the 4th of July holiday, especially when the fireworks start going off, is to make sure you keep your pets indoors, preferably in a secure room, a quiet room, or in a comfortable crate that they're familiar with.
And then the veterans, the combat veterans, they feel like they're back at a war zone. We've seen some individuals suffer from PTSD, and hearing all the fireworks go off nonstop throughout the night is very trying for them. And then the other one is the kids. You know, we see really children under the age of 5 that are injured the most, and it's tragic and it's preventable.
We want everybody to have a fun and safe 4th of July. And unfortunately, on major holidays like this, people have a tendency to consume alcohol and they could get behind the wheel of a car. Use Uber, use Lyft, get a designated driver, do something else. We really don't need to be behind the wheel after drinking. Go to a professional show, spend time with your family, enjoy the fireworks, enjoy the time with your family and your barbecue, and just be safe.
One of the great culinary gems of the Westlake neighborhood is the kosher-style delicatessen Langer's. Opened in 1947, the restaurant was lauded for its Marilyn Monroe of pastrami sandwiches, and like many eateries, Langer's temporarily closed its doors due to the pandemic. Well, after more than 400 days, the deli is back open for business, and City Attorney Mike Fewer and LAPD Chief Michael Moore are among the first in line for a taste of comfort food. Check this out.
Langer's is open, and California is open for business. We're here at Langer's, which is a signature institution here in the city of Los Angeles. Langer's is a place where people come from all over our region to enjoy pastrami and have great hospitality here. And to celebrate the reopening here is really symbolic of what we can do here in Los Angeles. We've been through some really tough times, but today is a moment when we celebrate reopening and the opportunity for everybody to re-engage with the economy, to get back to restaurants, back to businesses, and back to life.
Tengo 2 trabajos y de los 2 trabajos no pude trabajar por muchos meses. Fue muy difícil.
We had to let all of our servers go, and incidentally, they all came back, every one of them.
Day after tomorrow, on Thursday the 17th, will be 74 years that my father opened this up. And it's important to me. All of these employees have been with me for many, many years. My manager's been here 35, my chef has been here 51. This is family. And we were closed for 469 days, and today is Smile Day. Today's the day to reopen, rekindle relationships with our regular customers, and welcome new ones.
Well, it's a great day for California. By opening today, allowing the men and women who have Langer's to serve in-service dining. I want to welcome Los Angeles back. We're back in business.
More and more, Los Angeles is seeing underutilized or failed properties transformed and repurposed to meet the needs of LA residents. Since it was originally built in 1942, the Rose Hill Courts public housing complex has seen better days. Now, council member Kevin DeLeon and the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles are breaking ground on a reimagined purpose for the property. Take a look.
We're going to knock down the old 1942 constructed Rose Hill Courts apartments, and with that we're going to build a beautiful 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartments, for the community. It's well deserving here in Rose Hills, 90032. It's a day of celebration. It's a day that we say, hey, we need more affordable housing in Los Angeles, not less. And we can't replace affordable housing with exclusive market. It just doesn't make sense with a working class city like LA. So that's why we're going to actually almost double the number of affordable housing. So we're not doing less, we're doing almost double, which is a really good thing for all the community members here. So it's a day of celebration.
Apartamentos muy antiguos que no tenemos ya cosas como aire acondicionado y las ventanas no servían. O sea, están haciendo muy bien en hacerlos nuevos otra vez.
Besides the new housing, there's going to be new infrastructure, new streets, new sidewalks, new bikeways. There are going to be community gardens. There'll be a community space and community center here as well. There'll be new bus stops, so it's tying into the larger community here in terms of infrastructure improvements. This will be like a whole brand new community right next to this beautiful recreational space that we're on right now.
Porque estamos bregando con una crisis humanitaria, donde nuestra gente trabajadora están perdiendo sus viviendas, víctimas del desalojo, un índice alarmante de indigentes viviendo en las calles, en las banquetas, en los parques. Por eso necesitamos muchas más viviendas económicas para las familias trabajadoras aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
Councilmember Gil Cedillo helped cut the ribbon on the newly named Dolores Wong Plaza. This green space is dedicated to the psychiatric social worker for her many contributions to the Asian American community through advocacy, volunteerism, and philanthropic endeavors.
We are so honored that my good friend, Councilmember Gil Cedillo, took the leadership to name this beautiful plaza in honor of Dolores Wong. And we think that this is a way of establishing a living testimony to the power of community spirit, the power of community organizing, and the importance of honoring those who have gone before us to make this community a better place to live.
With the rise in anti-Chinese American hate, it seems appropriate that at this moment we would acknowledge such a pioneer and trailblazer like Dolores Wong, like the Wong family. As we come out of COVID, an opportunity for us to create public space that's safe, well lit, and right here at this incredible intersection where all these communities come together, Chinatown, Pueblo, a few blocks away from Little Tokyo, this seems to be a great place for people to come together and build community.
The Chinese American community, Asian American communities, and all communities of color not only are tolerated in LA, but they're welcome and celebrated in Los Angeles. And so projects like this is an affirmation that they're welcome here, this is their city, and that this is one that we want them to enjoy and to know that these spaces are dedicated to them and sometimes they're untold stories, like Dolores Wong.
One of Dolores Wong's most notable contributions to her community was providing the endowment that paved the way for establishing the first public library in the heart of Chinatown. LAPD hosts an LGBTQ community forum. Kevin DeLeon attends Justice for Janitors Day, and city leaders show support of a racial equity motion on Juneteenth. These stories up next on City Beat.
Los Angeles Police Chief Michael Moore and Assistant Chief B. Gurmala recently held their annual LGBTQ Community Forum in downtown Los Angeles. The 2021 LGBTQ Forum was held on the LAPD Chief's Terrace, continuing Pride Month and recognition of LGBTQ rights in Los Angeles. City officials actively reiterated the hope of community contact and cooperation in making Los Angeles a more safe and socially equitable city.
Because all of us are diminished in our city whenever there is any act of hate perpetrated against any of us based on who they are.
These are the jobs you can't remote out. We had to be there.
Members of the Service Employees International Union rallied to recognize and celebrate Justice for Janitors Day.
They're on the front lines, they're the essential workers, but oftentimes for the rest of LA, they're the essential yet invisible workers.
The rally was an effort to raise visibility for janitors on the eve of new contract negotiations. On the day that Juneteenth becomes a national holiday, members of the City Council introduced an equity motion and justice budget for consideration by the entire council.
It is aspirational in its content, but it is essentially a blueprint for establishing an anti-racist Los Angeles.
The motion aims to address long-standing disparities in pay and wealth-building opportunities for Black Angelenos. Additionally, Mayor Eric Garcetti announced the formation of the Mayors Organized for Reparations and Equity, a national commission focused on launching reparations pilot programs targeted to Black Americans.
Many COVID-19 restrictions were lifted in time for Father's Day, and the LAPD baseball team came up with the perfect way to celebrate dads and to reconnect with their community. They issued a challenge to the Pacoima Pirates, threw in free barbecue lunches, dad contests, music, and carnival games, and voila! You've got yourself the local baseball event of the season. Check this out.
Well, today we're here with the community. We're putting on a clinic representing LAPD, and we just want to give back to the community and get people out here, especially with the pandemic going. We just want to bring the community together.
We know the local team here, the Pacoima Pirates. We see them all day. This is where we work, and we decided to play a competitive game against these guys. We set it up together so the fathers and the families can witness, not only enjoy a barbecue and free food and free giveaways and contests, but a game, a real competitive game. To me, this is all about fathers, community, and bringing the police together with the community. And it's going to be a wonderful day for not only the fathers, but the whole entire family.
I think it's great. I feel like it's something good for the kids to look up to as well. My son looks up to the LAPD. He feels safe with them, and he enjoys seeing that they're here at the park participating too as well.
Que escogieron un día muy bueno. Es el fin de semana de Día de Padres y están trayendo soporte y mucha ayuda a los niños que en veces no tienen alguien que esté por ahí por ellos. Y les deseo un buen juego, les deseo un feliz Día de Padres a ellos también, porque ellos, la mayoría también son padres.
I believe it's super important for us to have these connections with the community, especially on Father's Day weekend, to be able to bring the community together with their parents, have everybody involved, and especially representing LAPD, the community, just coming together as one is what's really important, and especially to be able to share it with my son.
Happy Father's Day, Daddy.
Thanks, bud.
With the pandemic gradually shrinking in the rearview mirror, LA's sights are set on spending a long, hot summer outdoors and having fun. And just in time, the Los Angeles City Pools are reopening for the season. Maria Hallbrown sits down with Monique Schwaneman from the LA City Aquatics facility to get the deets on safety at city pools.
Well, whether you like to dip or dive or splash or swim, the city of Los Angeles has lots of wonderful pools for you to enjoy this summer. And to tell us all about it, Monique Schwaneman. She is the Aquatic Facilities Manager.
We have a multitude of pools in the Pacific region, in the Metro, in the Valley, and in the South region, like here. Come on in, make sure that you have a swimsuit. So it has to be the swimsuit material. And of course, if you need to have a full cover-up for religious reasons or personal reasons, that is totally fine, as long as it's that swimsuit material. So make sure you bring that. We don't allow flotation devices of your own. And a lifeguard's favorite rule, always walk. So please don't come running in here. We will tell you otherwise. And yeah, we have recreational swim, lap swimming for adults, lessons for kids and adults. It's a lot of fun.
What are some of the first things as a lifeguard you want people to realize when it comes to being safe in the water?
The first thing is communication with your party. Whoever you're swimming with, you never want to swim alone. You always want to swim with a buddy or a group, and then talk to each other. And don't be afraid about telling them what your limitations are. If you can only swim in the shallow end, that is totally fine. Just be open about that with the person that you're swimming with. There is no food or drink allowed on our decks.
There you go.
So it's not really a problem. Go ahead and eat outside, let your stomach settle, and then you're free to come in.
Spending time in the public pools is not the only way the city of LA is helping the residents beat the heat. Later in the program, we'll take you to another super cool spot in the Valley. In 2004, residents of the city of Los Angeles passed Proposition O, a clean water bond. Prop O authorized $500 million of bonds for projects that protect public health by cleaning pollution in the city's watercourses, rivers, lakes, and ocean. Well, it's taken a while, but the new Argo Drain filtration plant in Council District 11 is part of realizing that measure. Council member Mike Bonin and city engineer Gary Lee Moore were on hand to celebrate the opening.
Thank you everybody for being here today for the opening ceremonies for the Argo Drain Prop O facility. Where we are right now is the culmination of a dual promise. This is a fulfillment of a dual promise to the environment, to our planet, and a promise long delayed to the communities that live within the shadows of this airport.
We're out here today to celebrate the capture of stormwater. And what's so great about that is instead of this dirty first flush stormwater that will go out to the ocean, we're actually going to capture it and infiltrate it into the ground. How do we do that? Well, there's 3 big storm drains that we're gathering together, the flow from those, and then we connect that through a pipe, goes over to a pump station, make sure all the trash is removed, sediment. Then we send the water over to a basin where the water will settle more, take out more contaminants, and finally it flows into 2 different systems. One is a 250-foot diameter by 27 feet deep tank where the water will just naturally flow into ground at 3 inches per hour. All of this is to capture that dirty stormwater, treat it, and then percolate it back into the ground.
As a result of this project, about 100 million gallons a day of water is returned to the ground, and that provides drinking water for our use here. And of course, we'll have a new park for enjoyment of the public.
This project wouldn't happen without Prop O, which is the $500 million clean water bond that voters approved in 2004. This is you, this is the voters that did that.
Cooling centers are free indoor air-conditioned locations where Angelinos can keep cool when there are extreme heat weather conditions. The city of Los Angeles has long since designated our public libraries as cooling centers, and the Department of Rec and Parks has joined the Legion of Locations to help as well. We visited the Canoga Park Senior Center to see how the city is preparing to invite residents out of the heat.
At Canoga Park, in the area we're at, there's a lot of apartments. There's people struggling, especially seniors, with finances to put air conditioning on all day. Very expensive. Here we have air conditioning, so the seniors can come, they can get the air conditioning, and they're not running the machine at their apartment or their house all day long.
It's just great. It's a wonderful temperature, and they have snacks and drinks, great movies, so it's nice and relaxing if you're hot at home.
And we really try to make it pleasant, and it's a sense of community. And here, it's really important to the community that we have a place to meet and get together.
Within many socioeconomic circles, there is a stereotype that says these people or this group don't go to therapy. Part of it is a trust issue, like we saw during the vaccine push for COVID-19. And sometimes it's about embarrassment. In our featured story this week, Maria Hall-Brown talks with Dr. Laura Kokinda about mental health and focusing on taking away the stigma of reaching out for help.
Over 450 million people worldwide suffer from some sort of mental health issue, but there's still some sort of stigma attached to admitting that. Why? Well, we need to figure that out and we need to change it. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Dr. Laura Kokinda from LA's Medical Services to talk about this very real problem. Why is there such a stigma about admitting that you have some sort of mental health issue that could easily or maybe difficultly addressed, but you have to face up to it first?
Well, you know, as I like to say, we all have our issues. So it's incredibly common. Everybody needs some help at times, but we don't like to ask for help. You know, people want to do things on their own and appear strong, which is understandable. However, like you said, help can really improve someone's life when we're struggling.
What is it about sharing? What is it about actually, getting it out and exposing whatever it is that you're harboring inside that helps the psyche?
Well, you know, one analogy that I like to use to explain to people is we all go through life, we're born with an empty backpack. So we have this backpack behind us, and as we go through our lives, things happen. And it's like, okay, we're gonna stuff that back there and stuff this back there. So this stuff kind of accumulates in our imaginary backpack. So when you share, it's like cleaning it out. It's like spring cleaning for this stuff that we've picked up over our time, because otherwise it weighs us down. So it's therapeutic for the individual to share and clean that out, but it's also therapeutic for others to hear something that they can relate to, and it makes it feel safer to speak up and say, hey, I had something really similar, you want to talk about it?
There are definitely issues that are something that you can sort of manage at home, and then there are the ones that you really need to go seek professional help. So it's been a week. Mm-hmm. Is that when you really need to reach out to someone else, or is that when you can still work perhaps towards helping yourself?
Well, in these times, there's a lot of really great resources available online. So depending on the severity of how you're feeling, if things are feeling very, kind of hopeless, if you're feeling really helpless, then definitely reach out. You can get professional help now from your home. There's a lot of treatment that's done just via telehealth, which is awesome because it makes it easier instead of having to get in your car, maybe sit in traffic, go somewhere. Especially if you have some anxiety about starting treatment, all that stuff's removed. You can meet with a practitioner via computer, which is really helpful, I think, for some people to get the ball rolling. But if you're not feeling quite as helpless and hopeless and you want to start to work on some things at home, go online, Google coping skills, put in some searches that would give you tools that you can start to practice, and they can really be helpful.
Sign your kids up for NASA's Astro Camp. Visit the Portraits of Freedom Building a Life in LA exhibit, or take a free California native garden tour. All this up next on Things to Do.
Just in time for summer, the Watts branch of the LA Public Library invites kids to NASA's Astro Camp. Astro Camp will give students the chance to explore and experience topics like astrophysics, earth science, planetary science, and more. The event will be led by real live NASA specialists. Astro Camp is for all the future astronauts and engineers to learn about space with NASA unique activities. NASA's Astro Camp will blast off Thursday, July 1st, starting at 12 noon. For the Zoom information, please email cnichols@lapl.org. Grand Park and the Music Center will be celebrating the July 4th holiday with a month-long public art installation entitled Portraits of Freedom, Building a Life in LA. Drop by and see feature photography and video exhibitions as well as a nighttime projection installation, all exploring the Independence Day themes of freedom and home. Get inspired by art that honors our collective longing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Portraits of Freedom, Building a Life in LA will be on public display throughout the month of July. Head on down to Grand Park at 200 North Grand Avenue in downtown Los Angeles. For more information, visit grandparkla.org. Have you ever wondered what a drought-tolerant garden looks like? Well, look no further. The LA Made video series from the Los Angeles Public Library has got you covered. Join landscape designer Flor Mota and librarian Patty Alvarado as they take you on a garden tour in the Boyle Heights neighborhood. Discover new, beautiful plants that are largely native to California. Cultivating your green thumb is easy when you check out the California Native Garden Tour. This LA Made presentation happens Thursday, July 1st, beginning at 4 p.m. This event will be streaming live on the LA Public Library's YouTube channel and Facebook page. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
And that's it for this edition. I'm Natalia Bilbao, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org, and we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.
Let's protect our wildlife together. Please, no smoking in Griffith Park.
Today is Thursday, July 1st. I'm Noreen Martinez, President of the City Council. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Members, can you please take your seats? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Present.
Bonin.
Bonin present.
Buscaino.
Good morning here.
Cedillo.
Cedillo here.
De Leon. Harris Dawson.
Present.
Koretz.
Here.
Krikorian.
Here.
Lee.
Present.
Martinez.
Present.
O'Farrell.
Present.
Price. Absent. Oh, Councilmember Price? Rahman.
Here.
Ridley Thomas.
Here.
Rodriguez. Absent. 14 members and a quorum, Madam President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes of June 30th, 2021.
Mr. Cedillo moves and Mr. Price seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Lee moves and Mr. O'Farrell seconds. Next.
Madam President, would council like all items to go forthwith today?
Without objection, that will be the order. Next.
Madam President, there has been a request to take no action on items 5, 27, and 70.
Okay, without objection, that will be the order.
Items 1 through 53 are items for which public hearings have been held. Items 54 through 80 are items for which public hearings have not been held. Item 81 on the continuation agenda is a matter for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us. Members, do you wish to call any of these items special? Mr. Blumenfield?
I'd like to call item 58 special for comment.
Item 58 for Mr. Blumenfield. Mr. Harris Dawson?
Request to call item number 20 special for an amendment, as well as 76 for an amendment.
And I have the amendments, which I can read into the record.
Okay, go ahead and do that.
So on item 20, Amendment A is to, that the item be amended to transfer/appropriate $250,000 from the sanitation fund number 100-82, account number 06006020, which is operating supplies and expense, to the general purpose fund number 100-56, account number 000708, which is CD8 Community Services, presented by Mr. Harris Dawson, and I believe seconded by Mr. Krikorian.
Mr. Krikorian? Thank you, Mr. Harris Dawson. Do you have any others?
Amendment to item number 76.
Yes, so let me read that one now.
76. Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Sure.
City
So
Attorney.
this one is presented by Mr. Harris Dawson and Mr. Ridley Thomas, and the motion is, I move that the matter be amended to instruct the Police Department, Fire Department, and Bureau of Sanitation to provide monthly reports on race, gender, location, and type of enforcement when any enforcement occurs in the city pursuant to this ordinance. And we'll need a second. That was Mr. Bonin, I think.
Okay, Mr. Ridley Thomas, can you confirm that, sir?
I do, Madam President.
Thank you.
And I rise to indicate that I have an amendment on 76.
You have an amendment on 76? Go ahead.
Would you like me to, I have a copy. Do you want me to read it in, Mr. Ridley Thomas? Okay. All right. So the amendment presented by Mrs. Ridley Thomas, Krikorian, De Leon, Blumenfield, Marquis Harris Dawson, and Madam President says, I'm going to read the moving clause. I therefore move that the draft ordinance prepared by the City Attorney's Office on June 30, 2021, item 76 on the agenda for today, July 21, 2020, which is Council File 20-1376S1, be amended to insert a new subdivision E to read as follows. Violations of this section involving a person who willfully resists, delays, or obstructs a city employee from enforcing this section, or who willfully refuses to comply after being requested to do so by an authorized city employee, shall be subject to the penalty set forth and the Los Angeles Municipal Code, Section 11-00. All other violations of this section shall be enforceable only as infractions pursuant to Municipal Code 11-00, subsection M, or issuance of a citation pursuant to the city's administrative citation enforcement program pursuant to Municipal Code Section 11-2.01 and following. And I think we need a second.
I go ahead and second that.
You're one of the presenters.
Oh, I'm sorry, one of the presenters. Is there a second? Mr. O'Farrell? Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Sure.
We can circulate a motion on 76 later at a time, or we have to present it now?
It would be better if we could
It would be
present
better,
that
okay,
for
but we still
public
can,
comment.
correct? Okay, thank you, Mr. City
Mr.
Attorney.
Lee?
Item 69 for a technical amendment, just to change the funding from 120,000 to 130,000 for graffiti and weed abatement services in CD12, and item number 73 for just a separate vote.
Okay, I want to second do you have a second for 69?
No, apologize.
Second.
Mr. O'Farrell? And for 73, you have another technical amendment?
No, 73, I just for a separate vote.
Thank you. Mr. Cedillo?
Item 64, please.
64?
We want to move to adopt the recommendations of the CAO.
Can you speak into the microphone, please? Thank you.
My son says I'm a soft-spoken man.
Yes, you are. Only at times, sir. Only at times.
Item 64, we'd like to adopt the CAO's report.
Okay, I will go ahead and second that for you. Thank you.
Wait, you did that for?
This was 64. Okay, Mr. Cedillo, I'd like for you to second this one on 65. I'd like to move to adopt the CLA report. Can I get a second from you, sir? Mr. Cedillo? Mr. De Leon, thank you. Mr. Buscaino?
I'm good, thank you, Madam President.
All right, thank you. Any other specials, members? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and move into public comment. We have a long agenda and there's a number of items. Let's go ahead and move on to public comment.
Thank you. And for the record, item 74 was also asked to be held on the desk. Item 74. And as indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call 669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-535-8466 and then press pound. Then press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. Finally, when you hear the last 4 digits of your phone number being called out, press *6. Let me repeat, call 669-254-5252 and use meeting ID number 160-535-8466 and then press pound. Then press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press *9 to request to speak. Finally, when you hear the last 4 digits of your phone number being called out, press *6.
To members of the public calling in, when it's your turn to speak, please state which of the agenda items you'd like to speak on. You have 1 minute per item to speak, up to 3 minutes total. Because this is a special meeting, there is no general public comment. You must speak on the agenda items. We'll tell you when your time's up. When speaking on the agenda items, you have to be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you're not on topic, or if we can't tell whether you're on topic, you'll get one brief warning from me or the president. If you don't immediately get clearly back on topic, you will forfeit the rest of your time and we'll move on to the next speaker. We're going to take 40 minutes total of public comment. All items on the agenda today are open for public comment. Finally, for members of the public calling in to speak, as soon as you hear someone address you, it's your turn. Please press *6 right away to unmute yourself. We understand you may be listening on channel 35 or another device. Please keep one ear to the phone because there's a brief time delay between the live meeting and the broadcast. If you're only listening to the broadcast, You may not hear your identifying information read out right away and press *6 quickly enough. We may think you're no longer on the line. Also, if you are listening on another device, as soon as it's your turn to speak, please turn down the volume on the other devices right away. Between the time delay and feedback, it will cause a great deal of confusion if you also are listening to another device. And with that, Madam President, we are ready to take public comment.
Okay, let's go ahead and take the first caller.
Caller with the phone number ending in 0727, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
My name is Noah. I wish to speak on item number 76.
Please go ahead. You have a minute.
Thank you very much for listening to your constituents and passing the cleanup reinstatement yesterday. Very appreciated. I live on Bronson Avenue, Hollywood 90028, and I'm deeply concerned. Bronson is the main route for young school children who attend Chermoy Elementary on Franklin. These children are walked to school by their mothers up Bronson Avenue. The Bronson 101 overpass has been overtaken by encampments, and if something is not done now, when school opens up in the fall, these bright, young, eager children will have to walk in the streets, literally in the streets, or find another route, because the use of the sidewalk is barred by tents and trash and other degraded elements like rodents, and who knows when one of these tents will explode in a fire. My friends have seen it happen near MacArthur Park, Day, so it could happen anytime. It's unacceptable that the city leaders allow such encampments so close to schools and other enriching locations in our city. The impression on young minds is lasting. Is this the legacy our city council wants to have? The ordinance before you today must be adopted and must come with an effective enforcement component in order to be successful and work towards real change. I strongly urge you the adoption of this ordinance in front of you today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 5245, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
I'd like to speak on all available items, and if you ask very nicely, I'll speak on public comment too.
So, there is no general public comment, but you can speak on any of the items. So you have 3 minutes. Please begin, Speaker.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have more kicking the homeless around. People are getting a lot of heat, so you have to do something. This is a so-called compromise, number 76, of course. Idiots calling in, don't understand. People have nowhere to go. You just don't want to see them. Move them somewhere else. Move them out of the street. This city council has created this situation. Criminally insane behavior. It's a total disgrace. We've already been through it a million times, but we have to keep going through it again. It's a total humanitarian disgrace internationally. I do international business deals. People call me, Lean, these videos I see, people on the street in Los Angeles, is this correct? This can't be right. Yes, it's correct. Their jaws drop. This is America. This is the corruption of Garcetti, Wesson, and the stupidity and incompetence of Martinez and these greedy, corrupt bastards, city council members. Do I have to go through the litany of the indictments? Quasar, Wesson's chief of staff, the mayors? I don't have to go through that. This is the cause of homelessness, the corruption and the theft. You gave Ridley Thomas $284,000 for a new luxury office in the MTA building. You've given Dawson millions, one vote after the next, including you, Bonin. I know you hold your nose on some of this stuff, but good grief. This is by design, stealing the HHH money and just pushing the homeless. This does nothing to solve the homeless situation. And you don't want it solved because you're still stealing the money. CD8, a $362,000 per unit project. Number 74, you've stolen all the HHH money. For what? Nothing. People get nothing from it. There is no housing shortage, public. There's a glut of, there's tens of thousands of units. This council is just in bed with the real estate industry. Bonnie, you need to bring back that tax on empty units. They suppress the supply to keep the prices high.
Thank you, Speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 6878, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Good morning, members of the City Council. My name is Chris Larson, and I'm the President and CEO of the Hollywood Partnership, and we manage the Hollywood Entertainment District BID, which is located in CD13. I'm also a resident of CD4, and I'm calling in support of item number 76, and to thank you for approving the resumption of Care Plus services yesterday. The proposed ordinance would activate some of the additional tools needed to protect our public realm for all Angelenos to enjoy. The state of our sidewalks influences how both residents and visitors feel about our community. Sadly, there are some places where things have gotten so out of control that it appears we've just given up and relinquished the public realm. It is time to preserve our sidewalks so that all Angelenos can safely use them. I urge you to support the protection of our public realm. Thank you very much for your time.
Caller with the phone number ending in 7059, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Good morning, Council President, Council Members. Zachary Warma, Legislative Affairs Manager with the Downtown Women's Center, calling on items 31, 72, and 76. First, we urge resounding approval of item number 72 to add support for Senate Bill 678, the Unaccompanied Women Experiencing Homelessness Act of 2021, to the city's 2122 state legislative program. Authored by the Downtown Women's Center, SB 678 will make California the first state to formally recognize unaccompanied women who are experiencing homelessness without children or other dependents and who make up 1 in 3 of all unhoused Californians as a unique homeless subpopulation. SB 678 is a direct result of the work of this council, whose November 2020 motion, authored by Council President Martinez, made Los Angeles the first city in the United States to formally recognize unaccompanied women. DWC wishes to extend its deepest thanks to Council President Martinez for her authorship of both the November motion and this resolution, H&P Chair Ridley Thomas and Councilmember Bonin for their co-authorship and longtime support for unhoused women, Councilmember Rahman for her seconding and personally endorsing of SB 678, and Councilmember De Leon for his personal endorsement. On item 31, DWC asks that the Council approve the full funding for the Venice Beach Encampment to Home program. Led by Councilmember Bonin, in concert with St. Joseph Center and other leading West Side service providers, the Encampment to Home program is a client-centered, trauma-informed solution that offers supportive services and pathways to permanent housing, all without resorting to arbitrary threats of criminalization or displacement, and that thoughtfully balances the needs of all residents, housed and unhoused, and access to public space. When engaging major encampments, we need to be centering compassion and fostering trust with our unsheltered neighbors, backed up by robust service provision that is directly tied to obtaining permanent housing. The Encampment to Home program is the right solution for one of the largest encampments outside of Skid Row, and we hope that you move forward its full funding. Lastly, on item 76, the Downtown Women's Center wants to lend its support to the call of Homelessness and Poverty Committee Chair Ridley Thomas that a standardized street engagement strategy be developed and implemented before any restrictions and regulations of public space take place. A trauma-informed, service-led street engagement strategy that increases access to critically needed hygiene and other services and centers the needs of our unhoused neighbors while minimizing the role of law enforcement is an essential component of enhancing the city's overall level of service provision. Implementing restrictions without first providing clarity as to how we are engaging unhoused residents and where they can ultimately go increases the odds of displacement and further traumatization, while putting housing and personal stability out of reach. We ask that you please make the adoption of this ordinance contingent upon first developing and improving a robust street engagement strategy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Speaker.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 3969, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, this is Nicole Maholka. I am the chair of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. I would like to speak on item number 76.
Go ahead, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you, City Council, for passing the cleanup reinstatement yesterday, but there is so much more work to be done. As we all know, the current homeless encampment situation on our streets is untenable for our businesses, our residents, and our children. Homelessness is the #1 issue facing all Angelenos, and we must work with a sense of urgency to adopt hard and bold policies to combat the issue. The ordinance before you today must be adopted and must come with a strong enforcement component in order to be a successful and work towards real change. We cannot even begin to think about economic recovery and development if we do not address this very critical issue in the correct manner. I strongly urge you to adopt the ordinance in front of you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 9842, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, my name is Jackie, and I'd like to speak on all available items.
You have 3 minutes. Please begin.
I want to start off with something that you guys already know, that criminalizing unhoused people is not going to solve our problem. You keep giving our money to the wrong places. We have somebody like Joe Buscaino who held Trump-like rallies with paid supporters there who are very violent, by the way. I don't understand what it is that you guys are trying to accomplish. Do you just want our unhoused neighbors to die? Because it seems like that's what you want. I want to know how it is that you sleep at night, because me as somebody who does not work for the city, sometimes I have trouble enjoying myself and going to sleep at night knowing that there are people dying on the fucking street. Their blood is on your hands. Please, I beg of you, do your fucking job. I don't know why you hold these meetings and you play stupid and you act like you don't know what we want. The people who truly, truly live in LA, Angelino, people who have lived here their entire lives, we're here to support them. Without us, we're the ones that do this mutual aid. Without us, what the fuck would these people be getting, because they're not getting anything from you? Please do your fucking jobs and stop trying to criminalize people who are just trying to fucking live. Done. Bye.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 7947, please press *6 to unmute. Caller with the phone number ending in 7947, please press *6 to unmute. Caller with the phone number ending in 7186, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
What's up, City Council? I'm here to talk on all available items.
Please go ahead, Speaker. You have 3 minutes.
I'm outside your job right now with a ton of fucking people who are telling you to actually do your job. Answer a question for me. When has criminalizing homelessness and criminalizing poverty ever stopped the fucking problem? You have $10 billion sitting outside whenever you want to use it. And guess what? You're not going to use it. Let's see. It has been 153 days since the Biden administration said you can have reimbursable money from FEMA, and you haven't used a single dime. Why is that? Because you want poor people out on the streets. You want to blame homeless people, because if they see that you actually did your jobs and cleaned up the streets, they would see that you're the ones that are the fucking problem, not these poor people that you created. Margaret Lee Thomas, you're my council member, and you fucking disappointed me today. What is wrong with you? You pretend that you care about people. All of you pretend that you're liberal and that you give a fuck
Speaker, are you done? Okay, thank you, Speaker. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 5903, please press star 6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, my name is Diana Yadoyan with the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to speak on 76 and public comment, please. So first, I just wanted to thank the council for your actions yesterday and commend you for all your hard work. It's so important to adopt the ordinance before you today. We hear every day from businesses whose employees are not able to access their buildings or get attacked on their way into work, and countless other stories from residents. And this ordinance will help alleviate this issue and get us towards some real solutions on homelessness. Our organization supports humanitarian and common sense policies that will protect the integrity and health of our homeless neighbors, and also work to help struggling small businesses and residents who are unable to utilize public spaces. One really critical component is to ensure we have a strong enforcement mechanism in order for this ordinance to have its intended outcome. In no way do we support criminalizing homelessness. We merely support the rules to be followed by all Angelinos. Thank you for your attention to this matter and for all the hard work you, your staff, and the city departments have been doing for countless years. Working together and listening to all stakeholders will be the only way to accomplish our goals of increased quality of life for all.
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 2345, please press star 6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Speak on item 76.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, council members, for meeting and showing the urgency the city needs. You can hear from the crazy and radical callers who you're dealing with. There's a very small radical majority that put out literal toolkits to tell you they disagree with this motion. Just know that is not LA. Those are a few radical people. We cannot have just citations or infractions. That's unenforceable. That's a mirage. We need real action. There are 27 fires a day. There's crime up. Disabled people can't use the sidewalk. This is not okay. You need to approve the motion. Take action today. Do not leave the city in harm's way and go on recess. Death and fires will be on your hands. Thank you, Joe, for doing this right. You should be mayor. And Nithya Raman and Bowman, we do hope you are recalled because you are dangerous and you do not care about the citizens. Recallraman.org. Thank you. Please pass this today, and you can hear how insane and dangerous the people who are protesting this are.
Thank you, Speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 3328, please press star 6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
My name is Ashley Shoulder, and I would like to speak on all available items.
Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. As a woman who was attacked right outside my home in Mr. Koritz's District 5 by a homeless male predator, it would be respectful if you all shared one moment of your undivided attention with me, or at least pretend to. If you pass Agenda Item 76 as written, it will displace a homeless encampment on the Burton Way median, what you all would classify as an unsafe zone for the homeless, and drive them back to an adjacent and vulnerable residential street. For 2 years and up until this past April, our residential street was the site of frequent fires, one that melted a parked car, assaults, break-ins, vandalism, drug trafficking, prostitution, and verbal threats to harm my neighbors and burn our building down. What conditions have to be met to classify our street as a hazardous zone to prevent camping for 1 year? Can this be done retroactively with the history of criminal activity we have already been subject to? I've listened to many of you speak about keeping the homeless safe. How are you also going to help keep us safe from the homeless? You've already offered the homeless in our neighborhood shelter several times. They continue to refuse it and actively choose to be homeless. How many of your constituents have to be attacked or killed for you all to realize it's unsafe to allow the homeless to live on residential streets? Mr. Koretz, I am pleading with you to speak up and advocate on our behalf, at least just this once. Mr. Koretz, if you choose to sit in that chair and do absolutely nothing for our residential street, as my grandma would say, you are a Shonda. To Council Members Lee and Busquino, thank you for urgently pushing this issue forward. when your other colleagues let the ordinance sit in committee. To the LAPD officers who respond to our pleas for help, my neighbors and I are so grateful for your service. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Speaker.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 4008, please press *6 to unmute. Caller with the phone number ending in 4008, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Yes, my name is Marty Shelton, Capital Commercial Brokerage, and I want to speak on item 76. And to the callers that have called in, I'll talk to an actual situation that involves homeless or living on the street that we have tried through the council office, Mr. O'Farrell's office, to get help for these people, to get them off the street. They do not want help. They want to live on the street. They want to cause disruption. I have a Rite Aid that's in a shopping center on Sunset Boulevard. Rite Aid services the community. They have said they're leaving the store. They're going to close the store because they had a high rate of theft in the store. Their insurance coverage has been a problem for them, and they're going to close the store because of all the theft from the homeless. I've had 5 fires at the shopping center. I have 2 in the last couple of weeks where they burned trash cans and thrown trash cans through the windows of one of my stores. These are homeless people that do not want help. They want to live on the street. They want to be lawless, and you need to have enforcement. You need to take steps to separate the people that want help and the people that don't want help, and do what needs to be done to bring order to the streets of Los Angeles, because you've got that situation where here's a business that wants to be in Hollywood, that wants to provide service to the community, and not able to because of the ineptitude that's taking place on the streets with the homeless population. I have another building in Hollywood. An insurance company is going to cancel our insurance.
There? All right, I think he's done. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 8063, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, this is Philip Tate with Kilroy Realty speaking on item 76.
Please go ahead.
I'm calling to support the proposed ordinance and to thank you for passing the Care Plus cleanups yesterday. Additionally, I want to thank you, the council members, for making this a priority before your break. I don't think anyone is delusional enough to think that this ordinance is going to solve homelessness in Los Angeles, but it is an important first step. And I would urge you not to lose the sense of urgency that you found, but to keep pushing forward to provide safe and humane solutions to this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 8067, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on. Caller with the phone number ending in 7719, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Thank you. It's Eric Previn from Studio City, and I'll speak on multiple items in a general public comment as well.
So there is no general public comment, but you have 3 minutes for the items. Please begin.
Yes, there's no general public comment. That's right, Fauble. All right. Well, it's hard not to second the Shonda motion about Koretz, but let's speak on item 26 for a second. Here we've got Buscaino arranging for $20,000 for heritage celebration. It's Italian American. Where is the list of all of the heritage celebrations? We'll remember the move around at the last minute seasonally. As you go out for a month, you put a huge agenda that's almost impossible. Like item 27, are people aware that Girardi and Keese, the law firm that Matt Hamilton of the Los Angeles Times, a Pulitzer Prize winner, and his partner have been writing about, that firm and the guy, we're paying them $23 million. We paid half of it on approval and another half, 11.5 now, per a terrible car accident in, I believe, O'Farrell's district. Just shocking. I mean, this city, as we go around bragging, I remember earlier this week about how we're doing such a great job of maintaining the streets and sidewalks. We're not. Encampment to home, item 31. Again, this came up in budget and finance, and Rodriguez asked a reasonable question. How is the $5 million going to be spent? Not objecting or acting badly. And Bonin said, I'll give it to you and we'll send it over. But nothing. And we've all been wondering, and it's not an unreasonable question. It doesn't mean we're not 180ists, everybody. That doesn't mean we want to, I don't want to hurt people or bust people or whatever. Of course not. But we would like to know how the money's being spent. Gosh, I mean, really, it's so inappropriate to put all these items with all this money. Like University of Pennsylvania at item number 50. Here we've got Price, who's decided he'll put $6 million in for a guaranteed basic income program, a pilot, and it's going to be the biggest in the nation. So everybody's jumping in. Tell Katzenberg, Koretz, he can throw money in too. And we're going to hand out $12,000 checks to an elite group of 3,000 families out of the 600,000 families who are in deep poverty. Well, great. How do they sign up? Well, that needs to be worked out. The mayor's fund gave away $37 million, so you're going to have to get over that number to be the biggest ever. And that was given out by a man who was flying around the country with Mayor Garcetti, bumping up against people and kissing men and women, just appalling behavior, while the mayor denied any knowledge of it. So that's awful. Item 51 is the pit stop program. Here's an idea, council members. Put a toilet in your metro system if you want people to use it. It's not appropriate not to. Maybe cancel item 57, the controller aid. They're bulking up over at the auditor controller's office. Crazy. Now, the salaries are looking good. I requested more for Matt Zabel, but he's getting $306,560 to take over for Llewellyn as CAO. Who is a longtime mayor, Apparatchik, is getting $305,286. So each of them are making over $300,000. I'll say mazel tov on that. Now, Garrett Lee of Western Plaza.
Thank you, Mr. Previn.
Caller with the phone number ending in 3907, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
My name is Leanne Sanderson, and I am here to speak on all items.
Please go ahead. It's a little difficult to hear you, so if you could speak up a bit.
I am here to speak on all items.
Okay.
Leanne Sanderson.
3 minutes. Please go ahead.
We must vehemently make sure that Ordinance 76 is adopted today. Thank you so much for putting this on the agenda. The City Council has a humanitarian problem, and we are really glad to see you listen to your constituents. I know there are a few radical activists out there, but they are a very small group. And I don't know if those radical activists are offering the homeless their showers and backyards. They do not. I am the mother of 3 children in the Palisades, and we must pass this to show compassion for our children and our hardworking frontline citizens, as well as the homeless. Here are some examples. I'm walking at the beach at Will Rogers, and my daughter witnesses a homeless guy masturbating wildly for her. She'll never unsee that, and that is happening in our beaches. Please vote to protect our children near parks and beaches. Today, in our little neighborhood, we have a little toddler park, and a homeless person has completely moved in there where all the 2 to 4-year-olds play, and he has all of his things, and he's in there, and it's very dangerous for our neighborhood. I've walked into a McDonald's, and I've seen a homeless woman with her pants down, washing all her private parts in the sink. It's not fair to her, and it's definitely not fair to our frontline minimum wage workers who are working so hard to feed their families that they have to clean up defecation in the sink and deal with clogged toilets. You must pass this ordinance today. It's a great first start. I have a homeless person who called my friend the N-word. This is verbal abuse. It's not okay for this to be happening out on our beaches and parks. My husband rides his bike through Venice Beach. Several times they put their foot out and they try to take him down on his bike. You must protect your citizens. The bus drivers have to deal with homeless people getting on for free with all their things. They're bus drivers. They want to be on time. They want to be punctual, and they're dealing with sanitary issues. It's just not fair to these frontline workers. Near our public school, I witnessed a man drinking just in the last month open container, drinking his beer, and saying that the Palisades think he is a pedophile. I don't need this happening near our public school. We need you to keep us safe. I'm so grateful for this ordinance today. We've had 2 fires in the Palisades in our parks, our Via de los Olas bluff. One of my friends up in Pacific Highlands has had her fire insurance canceled because there are homeless lighting fires in their encampments. And pretty soon we will not even be able to get insurance. We know that our brave firefighters, their lives were put at risk. It was unbelievable to witness. I personally witnessed on Via de los Olas all the helicopters coming to put out.
Thank you, Speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 6888, please press star 6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, my name is Eva Green, and I would have preferred Mr. Busquino's motion because it had bite. And I also like to speak on item 65, by the way. 76, I believe you're creating a dystopian world that many have already described before me, and you must regulate public space. You want us to find this acceptable, that these people are languishing on the street, they're masturbating in front of children, they're creating murders and havoc. You need to be sensible because the homeless are desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. They're creating a diminished quality of life for themselves and for the general public because of lack of regulation and your lack of holding them responsible. It's your failures and lack of policies creating this, and you failed in balancing the needs of the homeless and simultaneously failed to keep renters, business owners, homeowners, and especially the disabled safe and free of assaults and crimes from the homeless who suffer daily. And the ADA laws say that you should have access for the disabled and have it cleared. And to date, you let the drug addicts, alcoholics, and the mentally ill take over the entirety of Los Angeles sidewalks. And in a word, this is insane, and it is drug-addled logic. I don't believe that you on the city council are all drug addicts or mentally ill, but you're behaving like that in your logic, and it makes no sense. And this is a joke on the taxpayers because this human suffering is what your failures are allowing, because ultimately this is about money. Big money for big nonprofit developers who receive billions yearly from the city with no metric for success. And the homeless sympathizers you heard from today, most often, these are people who work for the companies developing nonprofit housing. And with regards to item number 65, you want to explore the root causes of migration. Well, let's just say it and be blunt about it. And a lot of people don't know this, but it's about socialism. Mexico has been a socialist country forever. Guatemala, all those, they're totalitarian socialists. We don't want to create that here. We don't want to create that here. And that's a Bonin, who now has come out as a DSA member, Democrat Socialist, which is basically Marxism, to become normal here. You want to see what's on the streets currently? That's what socialism does, because they hold no responsibility and they only rely on the government. And we have got to stop this. We want to stop homelessness, create 60,000 beds in shelters. There, you get to clean off the streets. You don't need to create $1 million apartments for the homeless. You just simply don't. That's just abuse of taxpayers, and that is your friends, the developers, earning billions. And it seems to be a quid pro quo. I hope not, but that's what it appears to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 5259, please press star 6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Butler. I'm the president of Los Bomberos, and I'd like to speak on item 81. The Los Bomberos is in full support of Mayor Garcetti's recommendation and appointment of Corinne Tapia Babcock to the Fire Commission. And for those who are listening and our Latino listeners, yo soy Patricio Isidoro Butler Hoyos, el presidente de los bomberos de la Asociación de Latinos en Los Ángeles. Nuestra asociación apoya la recomendación del alcalde al nombramiento de Corinne Tapia Babcock para la Comisión de Bomberos de Los Ángeles. Before I provide some input on Commissioner Tapia Babcock, I would like to share a little history on Los Bomberos. We were founded in 1966 at Fire Station 2 in East LA. Los Bomberos of Los Angeles is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the recruitment, hiring, and advancement of qualified firefighter candidates and LAFD members who possess the skills necessary to provide exceptional service to the communities we serve. We are committed to ensuring that Latinos, Hispanics, and other groups have equal opportunity for upward mobility in the LAFD through their demonstrated leadership, competence, and influence in our communities. On June 21st, Los Bomberos met with Ms. Corinne Tapia Babcock and unanimously approved her for the commission. We asked her tough questions.
Thank you, Speaker.
And found her to be genuine.
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 0899, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
My name is Stacy Dawson Stearns, and I would like to speak on all available items.
Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, let's get down to the real brass tacks here, okay? It is so pathetic to see my council members, the people that I try to have faith in, some of you, literally licking buckets' boots. This guy comes in and pushes 4118 in his draconian manner, this little pig boy. And the best you can do, MRT, the very best you can do is to make an amendment to this motion. This is a ridiculous ordinance. I would like for everyone who's thinking about running to mayor to recognize that the vilification of activists in this council, in this chamber, has led us to a point where you're not only conditioning yourselves to believe lies, you're conditioning the public to believe lies. These NIMBYs who are calling in and using their children as human shields, let's talk about it. They're concerned about what their kids see. They're concerned about criminal behavior. I'm concerned about criminal behavior too, in this chamber. You all are turning the problem. You're literally blaming the people who are suffering from your inaction, decades of inaction. You're blaming them. Yes, mental illness occurs. Try living on the street. I'm so outraged at the ineptitude and the impotence of people that I believe in on this council. I don't believe in you anymore. I don't. Stand up. Don't play your mayor games. You know, you're letting buckets win. Why don't you just all join his parade? That's all you're doing. Until you stand up, nobody is going to give a flying fuck about you anymore. I yield my time.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 4208, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Hi, Rob Kwan. I'd like to speak on item 76 and item 30.
Go ahead, speaker.
Thank you. For item 30, the fourth FSR, I think it's worth noting that council is increasing its budget by $1 million to pay salaries. That's about a third of the Ethics Commission's total budget. Kind of shameless for you to sneak that through today, but that's not the only thing you're trying to get under the radar. We have to ask, why are you doing this on the fly? With item 76, this is city council, sporadic and lurching pace that we have with this council. You swing back and forth from doing nothing to attempting to do everything in the drop of a dime. What is prompting this? It's driven by a mayoral campaign and a mayoral timeline. Nothing has changed over the last 6 months other than an electoral pissing match that has opened up. The new amendment that was read off today, there's some really troubling stuff in there about obstructing a city employee. That leaves itself to all kinds of subjective interpretation from employees. What is obstructing? When we see LAPD and law enforcement, what they consider obstructing an officer, that's usually pretty fucking broad. I also want to know, most importantly, yesterday, Mark Ridley Thomas basically did a gut and amend, and there was no additional public comment. It's baffling that you didn't read out the amendment at the top of the meeting, and it's absolutely absurd that the city attorney and none of the other people around the horseshoe spoke up and said, hey, we had an absolutely significant amendment, and we have an obligation under the Brown Act to open up public comment. Shame on all of you. I yield my time.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 8350, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
Yes, my name is Asata Umoja, and I'm president of the Hyde Park Organizational Partnership for Empowerment, and I'd like to speak on all available items. I have a primary concern about item 76. You know, this is people keep saying it's a good start. It's actually no start at all. And people keep calling in saying that the people who are concerned about the homeless and that the way the homeless are treated are, you know, a small group of radicals. No, it's a huge majority of people that are concerned about how the homeless are being treated. It could be somebody in your family. We're dealing with people that have been locked out of their homes, some of them. Everybody that's out on the street is not a criminal. Some of the biggest criminals you're going to see are probably sitting in the city council. Some of the biggest criminals you're probably going to see are the ones that are walking around you every day and with suits on, talking about people exposing themselves. You can look every day and see who those people are. So we need to stop criminalizing the homeless. Yes, they have problems, but people who are not homeless also have problems. And we need to make sure that before you pass this amendment, that you this item, that you look at it very thoroughly, because it's a shame of a people who will fail to address the issue of homeless. Penalizing and victimizing the homeless will not solve this problem. You need to, before you do this, you really need to make sure that you look at what the real issues are and try to come up with some real solutions. I know people are concerned about their stores. I'm concerned about walking by people who might be of some harm too. But at the same time, there are people who are not homeless that could do some harm. Let's make sure that we look at what the core issue is in terms of addressing this issue rather than coming up with an amendment and saying that it's a good start. It's not a start at all. Go back to the drawing table, come up with something that's really going to help, especially people who are mentally deranged, and you know they are. And then the other thing is just in terms of, I want to look at item 70 where we're talking about multi-family affordability on Manchester. I'm looking at this item and I don't see anything about affordability. One of the main issues that we're having is housing that's being built that does not address family units. So if it's going to address family units, it needs to be affordable to the people who live in the community. It's being given a significant amount of tax credits and entitlements, and we need to make sure it's going to be something that actually works for the benefit of the community. And then we have, yes, on SB 678, the support for women, homeless women. I think that's a good thing, but I see that you held item 74. And I'm really concerned. I want to make sure I know when that's coming back up again, because you're talking about Destination Crenshaw, which is being called a community-inspired.
Next speaker.
Caller with the phone number ending in 3093, please press *6 to unmute. Please state your name and the items you wish to speak on.
This is Miguel Canitzer. I'd like to speak on all items.
You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
This motion is pure. I'm talking about 76 right now. This motion is pure criminalization, nothing more. The courts have already determined that you cannot outlaw living in public space when there's nowhere else to go. The meager shelter and temporary housing options that the city currently offers people have documented abusive prison-like conditions. Then you wonder why people are hesitant to move there. Just this week, the LA Times reported on the huge numbers of tenants who died in Project Limkey due to neglectful conditions. You offer jail-like conditions if they do accept shelter, and actual jail if they don't. What kind of choice is that? This motion will do nothing but increase the interactions between unhoused people and police. We know what happens when the cops interact with poor Black and disabled people. People get arrested, people get hurt, people die. This is cruelty, nothing more. If this motion passes, what parts of the city are left for people to live until you come up with suitable and sufficient permanent housing? Have you seen the map? It's a hellish Swiss cheese of blocked off areas that no one will be able to navigate.
There's no way someone will know if they are in a legal or illegal spot. They will be subject to criminal punishment for a law that they cannot possibly figure out how to follow. And for all the anti-poor bigots on the line who keep talking about children's safety, the children of our city should understand poverty. They should learn about racism and ableism. They should understand that what state violence is and how it's wrong. You should be teaching them about these things so that they can be better equipped to make this city better in the future. Sweeping visible poverty out of sight only punishes poor Black and brown people, queer people, and disabled people, while denying your children an opportunity to learn about empathy, compassion, and the dangers of neoliberal policy. Stop spreading your hatred of poor people to your children. Thank you.
Okay, members, that concludes public comment for today's meeting. Okay, let's move on to item 81, Madam Clerk. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes, 1 no.
Mr. Harris Dawson, you want to be recorded as a no? All right, thank you. Can you please read out the vote count one more time, Madam Clerk?
13 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay, let's move on to item 74. Okay, let's go ahead and open the roll on item 74. Close the roll and tabulate the votes.
14 ayes.
We're going to go ahead and move on to item 76. Mr. Krikourian, I'm going to call on you first, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam President and members. So what's before you now today is the result of the bold consensus action that this committee took earlier on Tuesday. And I want to thank members for supporting that effort on Tuesday, and I urge you to continue to move boldly forward today with the ordinance that's before you. There were some concerns addressed during our debate on Tuesday from a number of different perspectives about this potential ordinance. There were concerns expressed that if we didn't enact the previous version of this ordinance, well, we wouldn't have time to get a draft ordinance back this week. That problem has been solved, and the ordinance is before you. There were some concerns expressed that this ordinance might be used in a draconian enforcement way. Thanks to the amendment that has been proposed by Mr. Ridley Thomas and others today, that problem has been solved. So I want to go over briefly what this ordinance does and what it doesn't do. This ordinance, first of all, does not make homelessness illegal. It does not criminalize homelessness. It does not make any conduct which is fundamental to being human illegal. What it does do is it guarantees that we will re-establish passable sidewalks. It protects the users of our public infrastructure and the unhoused residents of our city from being put into positions of interaction with automobiles around loading docks, driveways, and so forth. It guarantees access to our fire hydrants, entrances to buildings, and so forth. It also provides for a buffer zone around schools, daycares, parks, and libraries, but only members when this council introduces and passes a resolution to do so. It provides for a buffer zone around the new homeless-related facilities, the shelters, the navigation centers, the other responses that this council and this city has invested so heavily in to try to uplift people off of the streets. It provides a buffer zone around those facilities, as we promised the communities that those facilities have been built in that we would do. This ordinance does that only when the council passes a resolution indicating that it should that buffer zone should be in place. This ordinance also provides that in areas around freeway infrastructure, for example, on-ramps, off-ramps, and so on, which have been the source of great concern by, for example, Judge Carter and many others in our community about the risks inherent in having people living so close to freeway infrastructure unhoused. This provides for a 500-foot buffer zone around those facilities, and again, only when this council passes a resolution about a particular space that presents that kind of a hazard. And then finally, this this ordinance also addresses those areas in which encampments have become particularly hazardous. Not simply a situation where there's a number of tents set up, but those situations that each of us has in our district, where an encampment has created an imminent hazardous situation to the people who are living in that encampment, most importantly, but also to the surrounding communities. So risks of fire, repeated serious or violent crime, those sorts of things that presents an especial grave danger in that encampment. By resolution demonstrating those factors, this council will be empowered to be able to designate those areas as being no longer suitable for encampment for a period of up to 1 year. That's what this ordinance that's before you does. What it does not do is it does not create an opportunity for someone to impose a criminal penalty against a homeless person for being homeless. And that was one of our principal concerns over the previous version of this ordinance back in November, was exactly that. How would we regulate enforcement of that? How would we ensure that somebody was given an opportunity to get services, to get housing? This ordinance does not include that provision. And so I think it's clear that this is an ordinance that had captured a consensus of support within this council because it captures a consensus of what the people of Los Angeles want. The people of Los Angeles want that we continue to do the extraordinary work that this city has done to invest in services and assistance, and that each of us has done in our district and that we've done citywide to try to lift people out of homelessness, but at the same time guarantee some basic principles of order on our streets. That's what's before you, and for that reason I ask for your aye vote. And I want to, as I do that, I want to say that this ordinance, if you had concerns about this ordinance as it was given to you by the city attorney, and if you had concerns about, well, are we going to vote for option A or option B, those issues have been resolved by the amendment that Mr. Ridley Thomas has put before you. And so I want to thank him especially for making this ordinance more sensible, certainly making it humane, and making sure that people will not be arrested for simple actions that are inherent to being homeless. So that is guaranteed now by this amendment. And so I can't think of any reason why we would not unite in support of what the people of Los Angeles want us to do. Restore order to our streets while also uplifting and providing services to those in need. So I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Ridley Thomas.
I thank you, Madam President and members of the council. I think we are on the verge of doing something very, very important, and that is overdue. On Tuesday, we adopted a motion designed to both uphold this city's obligation to keep public rights of way clean, safe, and accessible for the public at large, address the city's homeless crisis in a way that preserves the dignity and the worth of our unhoused residents, and finally supports efforts to transition them to suitable shelter and/or housing. That's a significant lift. It is momentous, and it shouldn't be lost on anyone. There are two fundamental conditions that ground this work, in my view. The first is the city must implement, within a specified period of time, we said 30 days in that resolution, that motion, a street engagement strategy that connects unhoused individuals to suitable housing services and options before any enforcement occurs. You should just know that that work will commence rather immediately to the extent that it has to be addressed in the Homeless and Poverty Committee. We will do that to hammer out the respective details that are necessarily required. We will do what we need to do. This is fundamentally important to the advancement of this ordinance. And the second point I want to make, Madam President and colleagues, in no way should this ordinance be construed as seeking to further marginalize, dehumanize, criminalize those who are houseless. In fact, the council provided direction to staff to ensure that the policies are established that would limit the use of law enforcement in these circumstances and adopt alternative strategies. That's what we're about. What do those alternative strategies look like? They look like interventionists that may be deployed. They look like conflict resolution experts that can be brought into the street engagement and outreach teams to do what? Promote compliance. We are not unclear that this crisis warrants compassion and compliance. No two ways about that. And to ensure alignment between the motion and the corresponding ordinance, before us today, we bring an amendment to ensure that the final ordinance does not contain language that compounds the plight of the unhoused by subjecting them implicitly or explicitly to the carceral systems. We do not wish to do that. We are fully formed policymakers. Good policy anticipates consequences. We've talked about this, and we know what happens pursuant to failed policies of the past. We can do this better. We can do it properly. This is a journey, and we ought to embark upon it in good faith for all of us. And the city attorney has read the language of the amendment that speaks to a new subdivision in the ordinance and the like. I think we are in a place that we've not been before. The conditions that are essentially constituting the status quo in our city have to be viewed as unacceptable. We don't need to moralize, we need to act. We don't need to engage in any further delay. It is upon us to make full-throated, stout-hearted decisions. That's what's before us today. And Madam President, I want to take the opportunity to salute all of those who have worked up to this point to get us here. I take the opportunity to acknowledge the work of the Office of the City Attorney, who's been toiling to get this right, and they deserve to be acknowledged. And I also rise to say to Mr. Harris Dawson, the motion that you offer to further refine and bring a higher level of accountability in terms of the data that we need to know that we are in fact doing this right, I'm fully supportive of and prepared to second it and vote for it when it comes before us. Madam President and members of the council, the time is upon us to do what is right. Dr. King said it, I believe it. It's always the right time to do the right thing. Madam President.
Mr. Bonin?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, colleagues. And thank you, Mr. Ridley Thomas and Mr. Harris Dawson for the amendment, which I really appreciate. I think it improves this, it softens it, and it moves it away from a carceral approach. I thank you for that. And as I have told you publicly and privately, Mr. Ridley Thomas, I respect your leadership, and I have faith that the direction that you will go in with the stuff that was in the preamble of the motion will help get us where we need to be. I usually don't write stuff down before I speak here, but I did this morning. Let me start by saying some things where I think there's unanimous common ground. Being a city where tens of thousands of people sleep on the streets every night is sick and inhumane. Being a city where 5 people die on the streets every day is barbaric and is grossly obscene. And in the midst of this homeless crisis, we are a city of encampments, and that is for Los Angeles and for all of us as a body and individually a shame and a disgrace. The following, I think, is clear and is universally agreed upon. People should not be living in unregulated encampments in our parks. We agree on that. People should not be living outside or next to our children's schools. People shouldn't be living and lighting campfires in high fire areas or outside of people's homes. People shouldn't be living on sidewalks, blocking ADA access and making it necessary for people to walk in the street. Those are all places where people should not be living. So what's wrong with this ordinance today, and why am I voting against it? Because what we're doing today, even as improved, tells people who are unhoused and unsheltered and have no place to go where they cannot sleep, but it does not tell them where they can sleep. That's what it comes down to for me. Everything else aside, that's what it comes down to for me. Where can people go? Where can people sleep when they do not have an alternative? Yes, we have created more housing units and created more shelter beds and more interventions, tiny homes and cabins and everything else than ever before. We have more beds available than we have ever had. Against opposition and against protest, members of this council, almost every member of this council, has done more in a year or two than previous councils did in generations. Yes. And it has not been easy. We all know that. Hell, I haven't got just protests, I've got lawsuits and appeals that have tried to stop or slow down everything I've tried to do. But despite all that work, despite all that progress, we still do not have enough units or enough beds. We still do not have enough places for everybody to go who wants to go somewhere.
we still cannot tell people who ask us, where can I go to sleep? We're tens of thousands of units away from that. I asked LASA this morning. We have enough beds in the city of Los Angeles to house 39% of our unsheltered population. What about the other 61%? Now, I know everyone around this horseshoe has stories to tell of somebody who has refused an offer of shelter. I do too. I believe that that is usually for deeper reasons than the rather facile explanation that they are service resistant, but that's a discussion for another day. Although I will note, this week in Venice, in an area that most people have determined to be or described as one of the most service resistant homeless populations around, 64 people in 9 days have moved indoors. And I also note that there are some around the horseshoe who will say, justifiably, that they have provided a greater number of beds in their district than the number of unhoused people living in their district. Why can't they enforce? Well, as we all know, there are districts that have started with significantly smaller homeless populations than other districts. And citywide, we still do not have beds for the other 61%. And we are not the Los Angeles Confederation of Council Districts. We are the city of Los Angeles. I also know that everyone around the horseshoe has heard and has had evidence or experience with people on the streets who are disruptive or problematic. I have too. And I think an ordinance like this is clearly designed to try to get to that problem, and it's easy to center the conversation around that. That's the dominant image of homelessness in the public imagination. But no matter how many next door posts we read or how many Streets of Shame segments we see, that's not the reality of most people who are unhoused and unsheltered in Los Angeles. And it's times like this where I wish we had that commission on lived experience of people with homelessness, so people who know the impact of what we may do can sit at that table and look us all in the eye and tell us. Absent that, I'm going to share some of my lived experience. Most of you know, I think all of you know, I'm a recovering addict and alcoholic. I have not been shy about sharing that experience. What I don't share as openly or as frequently about is my experience being unhoused. And I say unhoused, I don't say homeless, because I think it draws a false parallel between my experience and today's experience on the streets. I didn't live in an encampment, but I literally had no place to live. For periods of time, I did not have, in my 20s in Los Angeles, a home. Most of the time, I was able to couch surf, or friends would give me a place to crash. Sometimes I could scratch together a few dollars and stay in a really gross motel. But then there are nights I did not have a place to go. Some of those nights, I slept in my car, and a few of those nights, when my car was in the shop, I slept on the beach. I can't tell you how much turmoil there is in your heart when the sun is setting and you don't know where you can sleep. I cannot describe how demoralizing and dehumanizing and defeating that experience is when you don't know where you're going to sleep. I can't adequately express the combination of shame and frustration and anger and desperation and confusion you feel in that moment. And that's why I keep asking again and again, where can people sleep? I said the other day, show me a map. Somebody told my staff, one of my staff members, well, Mike's asking for the impossible. It's impossible to make that map. Imagine how impossible that is for the person who doesn't know where they can sleep when we are short tens of thousands of beds. Imagine this day, you've lived an existence outdoors. People have refused to make eye contact with you all day long. That's a good day. Other days, people have shouted obscenities at you. Maybe you thought you were going to get housing, and your caseworker didn't show up. Or your cell phone wasn't charged, and so you couldn't make the right contact. Imagine you're sitting there all day, and you haven't showered, and your clothes are dirty. Your face is sunburned, and you are dead dog tired. You haven't had a moment to relax and to drop your guard and just to exhale. And then at the end of that day, you have to ask yourself, where can I sleep? Where can I be so inconspicuous that no one will yell at me? Where can I spend the night where I'm safe from an automatic sprinkler turning on in the middle of the night and soaking me and all of my belongings? Where can I be safe enough from assault that I can actually fall asleep and get deep sleep? Where can I be and stash my belongings so they're not stolen when I sleep? Where can I sleep that is quiet enough that I can actually get some rest? With this ordinance, we say where people can't sleep, and all of those are reasonable places to say people can't sleep. But we make those questions I just asked harder for that person to answer. We increase the uncertainty, and we increase the turmoil. We increase the self-hatred, and we worsen the situation. My lived experience teaches me that we are all fragile, that we are all breakable and often break, and that we all stumble and fall down, and that we often need somebody to help us up. I believe deep in my heart that every member of this body wants to help people up. I believe that firmly. But telling people where they cannot sit, sleep, or lie does not tell them or does not help them how to get back up. I know my no vote is unpopular. I've gotten calls from millionaires. I've gotten attacks from the police union. I've been vilified by unnamed trolls. I've been told, you're going to be responsible for death. I've been told, you really don't care about people living on the streets. I've been told, you don't have the political will to do what's right. I've been told this will be the end of your career. I've been told you will live to regret this. I've had people call me a faggot. I've had people say, I hope your family suffers. It sucks. We've all lived with that. Every single one of us. It's horrible. You know what? It's okay. Because today, when I go home, I know where I can sleep. I don't have that feeling of not knowing. When I go home tonight, no matter what else, I know where I can sleep. And everybody in Los Angeles deserves to know that. And until we can tell them that, I'm a no vote. Thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield?
Great, thank you. I rise in support of this motion. And Mr. Bonin, thank you very much for sharing your experience. And I completely agree with you that we all share that goal. We want to help people get off the streets. The motion in front of us, or the ordinance in front of us, is not the solution for homelessness. And I completely agree that telling people where they can't sleep is not going to solve homelessness. We have other issues here that we are trying to solve. And that is the issue of maintaining our rights of way and our streets, and the impacts that encampments that are completely unregulated are having on our communities. Now, that being said, there can be ways, I do see this as also helping in some ways create what will solve homelessness, which is more housing, because this links housing to the ability to declare an area off limits. I know from my own experience, I've had a very hard time getting 2 cabin communities put up in my district. I've had protests, you described that, we've all had it 2 days a week for months coming to my house because I had the audacity to want to put a cabin community to help people get off the street. But I know that if that cabin community becomes a magnet for more encampments, I'm never going to be able to get another cabin community cited in my district. But this legislation allows a buffer zone around that cabin community that will enable it so that it will be a residential area, a gated community for formerly homeless people to thrive. And frankly, it is much easier for them to thrive if they don't have tents immediately outside of there, and their drug dealers are not able to come up, and it becomes a place that feels more like a home. Because we know that, and you saw it happen in Venice, that you have an intervention, and then for numbers of reasons, people think it's a walk-up intervention or whatnot, encampments start to form around it. That makes it more difficult to create more of these interventions. I want to create as many interventions as we can to get 100% capacity for every homeless person in this city. And I want you to know, in my district, we're just about there. Now, granted, I have fewer homeless people in my district than each of you have in your districts. But it is still the #1 issue. And it is still difficult to get to that number of people to be housed. But we have finally gotten, if you look at the 2020 census and the number of beds that we've created, we're there. But I still want to create those beds and see those interventions and see them happen throughout the city. And I know how difficult it is to do and how much easier it will be if we can actually show progress and we can tell people we're putting an intervention in your community, but that does not mean there will be, it means we may have 100 formerly homeless people living across the street from you, but it also means that there will not be people walking along, or camping right in front of your home. And what I tell folks why, I say, look, it is much better, people who have fear of these cabin communities and other interventions say it's much better to have somebody, they're not going to be foraging in your dumpster for food if they're being served 3 meals a day in a cabin community. They're not going to be, scary to you walking around, looking haggard if they have a shower and they get some rest. They're not going to be a threat to you in that sense. And this is a very positive thing, and lives are changing. And I mean, we all have these inspirational stories of people that we know and we've met whose lives have been changed because of these interventions that we're able to put forward. The interventions are the solution. The treatment programs are the solution. The caseworkers are the solution. The motion before us, or the ordinance before us, is not the solution to homelessness, but it is major progress on a related problem, which is the maintenance of our streets. I mean, we all have examples. I have the underpass at Winnetka that I've talked about before, where it is the artery to get from where the residential areas are to the school and the church and the grocery. And we had all sorts of viral examples that go out with pictures of people, old ladies in their walkers, walking in the middle of a very busy street because they can't pass. And that's not acceptable. That should not be acceptable to anyone, and I don't think it is acceptable to anyone here. This ordinance will allow us to take some key areas, not all areas, key areas, and make them off limits to encampments, but only after we have found housing for all of the people who are in that area. And that linkage will actually be a solution for homelessness. It will incentivize more interventions. It will help reduce the pushback that all of us get when we put these interventions out there. So I stand strongly for this, and I really appreciate the leadership of Mr. Ridley Thomas and others, and the amendment that here makes it absolutely clear that we're not trying to criminalize homelessness. We're going out of our way to make sure that that is not the case, that if somebody's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, they're not going to be arrested. The only way that there is any enforcement here is if somebody willfully resists or refuses an authorized order from a city official. That is a reasonable thing. And we're trying to apply the same laws, across the board evenly, but humanely. So again, I support this. Frankly, it's not all that different than what many of us passed as a motion back in November. But there's, the devil's in the details. And last time when we went from motion to ordinance, the ordinance went too far. And getting the ordinance and the right language together is a difficult task, but I'm glad that we're getting this done before the recess. And even going from the ordinance a couple of days ago to today, or the motion to the ordinance, took some doing, and we needed these amendments, but we finally landed somewhere where we can make real progress. And I believe that this is going to help people. It is not the solution for homelessness, but I think it is going to help communities in general, but I think ultimately it's going to lead to more housing because of the linkage between the housing, and that's why I stand before you and urge your support. Thank you.
Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Madam President and members. Colleagues, let me say that we all come from various backgrounds and different kinds of life and professional experience. Some of us our former council staffers, some of you former nonprofit directors. A good many of you are seasoned lawmakers with extensive experience from various legislative bodies. Only one of us has firsthand experience as to what best motivates people to comply with rules. 5 years ago, I warned this body what would happen if we remove consequences from 5611. I warned that no one would voluntarily abide by the requirement that tents come down during the day, that you don't block sidewalks, and that you don't exceed 60 gallons of personal property if there were no consequences. And what do we have here today? Tents up all day. Just look outside. Completely blocked sidewalks and tons of accumulated trash. Even when we have outreach workers out there every single day doing God's work. Colleagues, we must look at this rationally and distinguish between criminalizing someone's status by passing a law that's impossible for a homeless person to comply with and criminalizing conduct, blocking the sidewalk or camping where a sign clearly says not to. This ordinance does not criminalize homelessness any more than banning parking in front of a fire hydrant criminalizes drivers. Now, I cannot support motion 76C. It's no different than the status quo. We tried this. We tried this 5 years ago, and we're expecting a different result. I don't see that. It's a definition of insanity. The ordinance before us is definitely a good start. But what's missing in the provision of the city attorney's previous draft that would prevent camping citywide if a person has been offered shelter. Now, Mr. Kokorin, you mentioned the veteran the other day. The practical application of this law will not be the homeless veteran at midnight, as you suggested. It will be to address the remaining urban campers that I see in my district today who have been offered shelter numerous times, but they refuse every single time. Now, as you've heard me on Tuesday, I've said yes to all solutions. 3 bridge home shelters, a tiny home village, multiple project room key sites, a navigation center for the storage of property. I approved numerous new permanent supportive housing units in my district. I've said yes even when my community didn't support solutions because I truly believed in it. But even with all these housing solutions and all the service providers working day and night to address the homelessness crisis, I still have encampments that are creating a fire hazard. But with 76B, we need this tool. The service providers need this tool. Neighborhoods need this tool. Moms with strollers need this tool. Our small business owners need this tool. People in wheelchairs need this tool. If we all agree that street encampments are unsafe for both the housed and unhoused, why would we continue to allow that situation if an alternative exists? I have unused beds in my bridge home shelters every single night. The stragglers living in tents in my district are on the street because they've denied many offers at various solutions available throughout my district. We can no longer say they have nowhere to go. And continuing to allow those suffering from addiction to slowly destroy themselves in public is neither compassionate nor humane. Motion 76B adds an additional section that calls for a citywide provision because without a citywide provision, we'll be doomed to repeat the same cycle that we have seen with our overnight RV parking restrictions, adopting resolution after resolution and putting up signs all around the city. We need simple, straightforward ordinance that's easy to our unhoused residents to understand. If you are offered shelter, you must either move in, move along, or face a consequence. Mr. Lee, thank you so much for seconding 76B. Please join Mr. Lee and I with an aye vote on 76B. Madam President.
Ms. Rahman?
Thank you. I want to just say that there is sections of this ordinance that I completely agree with. I do support having restrictions on ADA, on sidewalk camping. We need our sidewalks passable for those walking, passing through the city in wheelchairs and pushing strollers. And in fact, those laws are actually on the books right now. They're just not enforced for some reason. I support restrictions on camping in and around sensitive sites like parks and schools. And I want to address real criminal activity, sites of criminal activity. These are questions that we must be talking about. But to figure out how to figure out where people can be, where people can and can't be homeless, we have to go through a deliberate process. This was not it. This was a quick and hasty process, and it was done behind closed doors. We have a homelessness and poverty committee so that we can get into the weeds on these issues. We have the assistance of city departments who could have consulted with us to lay out a plan for where these sites can be and should be, where people cannot camp. Our normal processes for making policy on difficult issues has been abandoned here. Members said on Tuesday that we've been discussing these issues for years. I've been here since December, and I sit on the Homelessness and Poverty Committee. And although this is something that my office has been discussing with people, how do we better regulate public space? How do we share it with one another? I have never participated in more than one conversation with my colleagues in an official setting about this issue, which was on Tuesday, right before being asked to vote on it. That to me is not a deliberative process. That's not a place where we can really make decisions about some of the most important questions confronting our city. And though I mentioned that I support certain aspects of this ordinance, I also have serious concerns. We are really focused on setting out rules for where people can be and can't be, without having a clear plan at all for how we're going to enforce those rules. The LA Times editorial this morning made that clear. We have in this ordinance the compliance part, but we do not have any of the compassion. This is what we were talking about on Tuesday over and over. We heard it from many of our colleagues, compliance and compassion together. That's not what we're voting on today. We're only voting on one piece of that. A year ago, we had tens of thousands of people marching in the streets. And we had a consensus, or so I thought, in this city, that we should not, in responding to this crisis of homelessness, be leading with police enforcement. But who will be enforcing this ordinance? Have we funded compliance-oriented outreach workers? Have we created a new unit or even laid plans for a new unit of unarmed non-police personnel who can work with people to enforce this ordinance? This is what we need in order to do this right, in order for this to look different from exactly what we've been doing in the past in Los Angeles, which has gotten us to this situation that we're in today. Finally, I also want to object to the framework that we're putting into place here with these resolutions, where council members bring resolutions to ban encampments, and really how are those resolutions going to come about? They're going to come about when people complain about them. And every overpass, every place that we get a complaint about, that will be the source of a resolution from an office. And this creates a district-by-district arms race, where people will get pushed around from district to district instead of having a citywide strategy that prioritizes intervention in encampments by need, by safety, by fire risk, by all of the things that we are claiming to be so concerned about. In the end, this will just push people around again. It's not going to solve homelessness or get anybody into housing. This is a discussion we need to be having. I want to do the work. I want to make this work. It's easy to say, let's make it all disappear, but what will we be left with when we don't ask the hard questions about how people on the streets will be asked to move and where they will go? Time and time again, here in LA, especially on homelessness, we have chosen the easy Band-Aid solutions, leaving us months and years later with the consequences of avoiding that hard work in the initial stages. The hard work that will lead to lasting change, an end to this crisis, a crisis where people's lives are at stake. Doing nothing right now is not an option, but I, for one, don't feel comfortable fast-tracking this discussion so that I can go on vacation. Thank you.
Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you, Madam President, colleagues. I think at the outset of this item, it could not have been better stated by Mr. Krikorian and Mr. Ridley Thomas in terms of the balance that has been struck by this ordinance brought before us today with the amendments 76A and 76C. Enough second-guessing ourselves and our own ability. And a vote no on this ordinance today is a vote to second-guess our own abilities, where we have brought unprecedented amounts of funding and housing solutions that the city has never, ever seen, with more on the way. This is a process. This is not the final run of our approach to addressing homelessness and reducing homelessness in the city of Los Angeles. We are doing no one experiencing homelessness any favors by allowing the anything goes status quo to continue. And a vote no today will do just that. It will allow the status quo to continue. This ordinance and its amendments, the ones I mentioned, 76A and C, strike the balanced approach people across Los Angeles are craving. Approving this ordinance as amended by A and C provides the leadership and change that the people of Los Angeles are rightfully demanding. Enough with this second guessing and hand wringing. This product is so much better than what we heard back in November. I have no words. And there will be more discussions, more standing up additional solutions as we move forward to address this crisis. This is one step in the process. And all of us are on board for addressing that. I, for one, am ready to move forward and continue our very humane and compassionate approach to the issue of the day. And all of Los Angeles understands that, and they need to see this leadership from us today. Thank you, colleagues.
Mr. Cedillo?
Just briefly, let me stand in support of the proposal. Let me join Mr. O'Farrell. I could not agree with you more. The politics which we are all engaged in when we run for office, regardless of how much we say we're not, it is a reality. And when you are engaged in politics, politics is about the art of the possible. And this is what is presented to us today. What is possible? Not what is perfect, but what is possible. What is the best thing we can do to address this particular problem now? And that's what's before us. That is our vote. A yes vote is to say we vote for what we can do. And a no vote is to say we will wait until it is perfect. But to do that is to say we will also accept it as it is. And so we can't have it both ways. We cannot argue that what is current is unacceptable and then yet cast a no vote. That is not on, as we say sometimes when we go out, that is not on the menu, frankly. Let me say that I hope that everyone can vote for this. It's remarkable that within such a short span, Madam President, with your leadership, with the urgency presented to us by Mr. Buscaino, that this is before us. And it is a recognition of everything that is happening out in the public, everything in the public, housed and unhoused. And we have to recognize that we are responsible to the entirety of this city. Let me say to Mr. Bonin that I'm moved by his presentation. He's an extraordinary leader and a very thoughtful man and a man of his convictions. But I want to exhort you, I know you don't take actions that are politically motivated, although sometimes I think you should. But
you're not alone in that.
But neither do I. And when we have time, sometimes we can afford to do that. But at this point, I think Noting your presentation, you said two things that were very important that I think would argue for the contrary. And those are, one, you noted the progress you've made in the last 9 days. And that is an act of urgency. That will inform us as we move forward. You will be more informed, we will be more informed about the challenges that confront us. What you've done the last 9 days is the steps that we need to take now. And I believe this assists us in doing that. And second, you talked about 39%. Cedillo math would round it up to 40%. It's possible. And we should do all that we can to figure that out. And this goes back to what I said on Tuesday about making the road as we go. The map isn't there, but the direction is. And we need to lean in on this. And if we can map out 39%, then we need to do that now. We need to max that out. We need to figure that out. And then at the point of the 40th percent, we can figure out the rest. And so I want to exhort you to join us, to not wait, to create a consensus in this city so that we can move forward as a body in unity, imperfect as it may be, but nevertheless, it is what is possible. I thank you, Madam President.
Mr. De Leon?
Thank you very much, Madam President, as well as my colleagues. I was very moved by Mr. Bonin's personal history with regards to his battle and his triumph over his addiction issues, and we cannot be prouder of you, and quite frankly, more proud. You know, and I'm hearing your story with regards to being unhoused as well, and it's a story that I actually don't share very much. I think there's a handful of us around this horseshoe who felt very housing insecure when you hear the knock from that landlord, you know, demanding his rent. And I know that was very profound, very traumatizing, and quite frankly, very embarrassing as well too. When your mother would say, stay quiet, shh, cállense todos, you know, turn the lights off. It's embarrassing. And I grew up in high school. I went to San Diego High School. And this, you know, I grew up in a, not grew up, but in my final years of high school, in a basement with a locked, padlocked door and a bathroom in the kitchen and a shower that you had to physically walk outside of the basement. So it wasn't attached in the single family unit. So it was a source of, you know, deep housing insecurity. Went on to college. I think a lot of folks know my story. Was not a stellar student, to say the least, and then didn't do well. So I was kicked out of school. They took away my financial aid, and I was kicked out of school. So I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I didn't want to go home. You know, I'd come home, and maybe after 3 quarters, my mother would ask me, "What are you doing here?" "Well, your mom, you have a very smart son. He graduated, he got his BA in 3 quarters, you know?" I didn't know what to do, so I stayed. But I didn't have financial aid. So under today's definition, I was homeless because I couch surfed and I slept in the car for an entire year in Isla Vista and in Goleta and in Santa Barbara. And eventually I got a job and I slept at that office for a few years on that floor. So it was difficult, no question about it. I hear about compassionate compliance, and I think it's about common sense compliance. The compliance, because we know that with regards to the 2 feet, the fire hydrant and the fire plug, the 5 feet with regards to an entrance, the 10 feet with regards to a loading dock, the 500 feet with regards to a school, I agree. I have colleagues and friends, many of us, who vehemently disagree even with that. It's not that difficult, and I concur 100%. The issue here, I think, is how do we deal with common sense and compliance simultaneously, which is the issue ultimately of housing. Housing, in whichever form housing is materialized. Again, whether it's shared housing, whether it is the issue of scattered site master leasing, whether it is adaptive reuse, whether it is whatever our future HHH is going to look like in terms of receiving that capital necessary to build and hopefully build on city, county, state, federal property. I kind of rise with very mixed emotions on this issue, because I know there's a lot of folks who are conflicted. We have constituents who are very upset. Simultaneously, we have not really robustly, I believe, met the challenge and the high standards that we should have. I've heard consistently, without a doubt, and there's truth to it, that we have built more housing than ever before. There is truth to it, but I think it's all relative, depending on the type of standards that you command or adhere to, given the crisis that we're living in right now. So one can say that we're building more than ever before in the history of the city of LA, but they can still be very low standards relative to the magnitude of the crisis that's living on our streets today. So although I appreciate that, it still really hasn't reached this high standards that we should demand for the misery that people go through every single day living on the streets, in the alleyways, in our parks, and elsewhere. We have a lot of work to do, as we know. And we have a lot of salted earth activists, advocates out there who are disillusioned, upset because of this vote here today. It's understandable. We have a lot of voters who are upset themselves too, because of the public right-of-ways, which I think we all concur should be clear so folks can walk, regardless of who they are and regardless of where they come from. I'm going to submit to each and every one of you today that we're going to have to do a lot better, and I think we all agree, with regards to what our response is with regards to housing, because I do think there's a lot of truth to what a lot of folks say, that if we put the cart before the horse in terms of compliance, what have we done with regards to the issue of housing? And that means also to our planning department. That also means to building and safety. That also means to LADWP, LAFD. And are they working in concert with each other with a synergy to produce the stock, the inventory that we need to house the biblical numbers that we have today on our streets? And I think I would submit to each and every one of you, the answer is no. I think we all concur with that. So we need them working on all cylinders if we're going to produce the housing stock, the inventory that's quite necessary to house the unimaginable number of individuals living on our streets today. We're going to go on a break, I guess, after this week. And we'll be gone for a month of July. We're going to come back August. And to Ms. Rahman's point with regards to the Housing and Poverty Committee, we've been entailed with the responsibility to work out a product or products for each and every one of you to vote on. My expectation is when we do return collectively that we have a vote on 25,000 housing units by hook or crook by the year 2025. We can make it 26,000 by 26 or 30,000 by the year 2030, whichever it is, because we do need that North Star. We need to start moving towards building, acquiring, and renting, because that is the housing component, not just the compliance. The 2 feet, the 5 feet, the 10 feet, the 500 feet public schools, that's simple. That's not difficult, even though we've got some of our friends who are angry about that. I get it, I understand it. No big deal. That's the compliance part. But I would just press upon my colleagues, whether you're on the west side, east side, in the valley or the south side or in between, when we come back together, we do have to give a real bold response on the housing issue. We've spent a few weeks now on LASA, and on LASA. And dealing with LASA in itself won't be the panacea, because that is not the housing production component. We're going back and forth between what's the definition of outreach and how much money they have, and we can't get data points, what have you, et cetera. But that's not the source of our major gargantuan problem. This measure is going to pass today without question. It won't pass with a unanimous vote, but it's perfunctory, because when we come back in August, if it's August, or if Madam President, if you bring this in, mid-July, then we'll have that vote mid-July. But it's going to pass, and it's going to pass today, and then not unanimously, but when we come back with a minimum threshold of 8 votes. So to a large degree, regardless of what folks feel outside, this is fait accompli. So what I would press upon my colleagues is, when we come back today, or I should say next month, let's get the housing component done, so we can have the common sense with the compliance, hand in glove, working together simultaneously to give the solution to those who are suffering today and to all of our constituents who demand a response from each and every one of us. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Lee?
Thank you, Madam President. And Councilman Bonin, thank you for acknowledging that this council and everyone who sits around this horseshoe, I say it all the time, is committed to finding solutions and understands the crisis that we have on our streets, and that each and every single person around this horseshoe cares about that and cares about the neighborhoods that they were voted in to represent. But today, this is something, when members say that it's something that we have not been working on, I feel like this is something we've been working on for years. I want to thank everyone who's voting to pass this today, because now I do have something to tell my parents who go out every morning, clean the areas around their schools, pick up needles. I have a solution for them. I have something to say to them to allow the safe passageway for their kids to get to school. I have something to tell the businesses whose doorways have been blocked. I have something to say to my community that has given and understood the need for housing, that the situation and what they agreed to is not going to become worse, but their areas, by their sacrifice, is actually going to become better. This does not mean that this council packs up and says we've solved everything, because we haven't. We must always continue to figure out ways to provide more affordable housing. We must figure out ways to remove the barriers for people who can't afford security deposits, and find other solutions to get them and to remove those barriers for them getting into those apartments. We must continue working with our communities to build more housing, because it is needed. But again, thank this council, because now I have some other tool in my toolbox. Because as of now, the only tool I have in my toolbox when I visit somebody, or my staff visits somebody, or mental health department goes out to somebody, is to just keep asking them if we can help them. When we talk about where are they going to sleep, I have 60 unused beds in my district as of yesterday. Councilman Buscaino talked about unused beds in his area, and I'm sure all of us have those. But this tool that I now have is to try to help people, because right now I just hope that someone accepts services on the 87th time that they did not take on the 86 times before. and how frustrating that is to have mental health go down. We just had a lady who died on our city streets, who we met through our Lunches of Love program, that we built a relationship with. Mental health used to go out 3 times a week to visit this lady. But the second she said no to services, that was it. We had to walk away. And she ended up dying on one of the streets in my district. I need other tools. I need other ways to help people who can't understand the help that they need for themselves. And I just am appreciative that this council is finally moving on some ways for us to not only help more people, but to help the balance in our communities, to help the people in my communities that have been frustrated for so many months and years that we have failed to provide solutions on how to allow them the quality of life, to allow them the ability to walk in their neighborhoods or to walk on their city sidewalks in a safe manner. So thank you, colleagues. I hope that I feel that from the vote that we took on Tuesday that we are going to move something. And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart and from my constituents how much they appreciate that we are finally moving forward to do something to help everyone here in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you, Madam President.
Mr. Harris Dawson.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you to the members who've engaged in the discussion and everybody who's been a part of the process. I've been reluctant to speak on this issue, frankly, because don't feel like I have a lot to add. There aren't a lot of new ideas. There aren't ideas that are great. Every idea, frankly, that comes before me is, frankly, as troubling as it is an opportunity. I will support this. I will do so. I will confess to everybody I will do so reluctantly because we stand on very tenuous moral grounds. I'm reminded of the war on drugs, which is in our history now. At the beginning of the war on drugs, and Mr. Cedillo, you correct me if I'm wrong, liberals said, we need enforcement and we need treatment and we need opportunity. And so we got to do a little enforcement because we can't have people using drugs around schools, so we're going to pass the Drug-Free Communities Act. And then we can't have people using drugs in public housing, so we're going to pass a law against that. And then people keep using drugs and there's no consequences, Mr. Buscaino, so we're going to pass 3 strikes. And guess what happened? A third of black men in my generation spent decades in prison. And to this day, we talk here about we're going to provide housing. To this very day, you can't get drug treatment on demand in the United States. So the talk makes me nervous because you pass one restriction and then that's not going to work. What we're doing today is not going to clear all encampments. There are going to be more encampments and people are going to complain about them the way they are now. And then it might be a different set of us or it might be the same. There's going to be demand for another penalty or punishment. And then there's going to be a demand for another one and another one and another one. And I'm just not sure what our pathway to actually housing 61,000 people is. And frankly, it's not even 61,000 because by the time we do that, this economy is creating homeless people faster than we can build houses. When we started and I came into council, I ran for council, wasn't even interested in homelessness. And council president put me in charge of the Homelessness and Poverty Committee, and we did HHH. There were 11,000 homeless people. We said we're going to build 10,000 units of housing. I said, great, I can move on and we can work on some other things that I care about. Well, guess what? We're at 61,000 now. So even if we had accomplished that task in 6 months, we'd still be 50,000 short. And so, again, I said I was reluctant to speak because this this problem at this moment feels hopeless, and it feels like a challenge that we have yet to come up with the intellect, ingenuity, and creativity to solve. But again, I just want to put a point of sobriety on all of it. It's real easy to throw all these people back in prison, because frankly, that's where they were 20 years ago. It's no coincidence that the largest racial group among homeless people is black people. It's no coincidence that the largest group among homeless people are people who are descendants of slaves, who, by the way, you probably could have solved a lot of this if you just paid slaves back decades ago, which we also didn't figure out and haven't figured out. We just now, in 2021, have a committee on reparations in the liberal city of Los Angeles, just now. So, again, I rise to thank everybody who's had the courage and the discipline to work on this, even though it's very, very difficult. I want to thank folks who've been supportive and expressed support for the motion I put forward that says, we know we have a historical problem with enforcement on everything. So those consequences, we don't have a history of applying consequences equally. And so we want to make sure that on a monthly basis we get a report that does that. And again, also, 76B, when I read 76B, Mr. Lee and Mr. Buscaino, you know what that says to me? If I'm at a picnic and I'm eating and I fall asleep, somebody can call the police on me. That's what that says. But that's what the law says. Some of us have to think about that. It's the reality. So, again, I will cast an aye vote. I will do so reluctantly, and I invite all of my colleagues to remain sober on this issue, remain vigilant on this issue. It's our responsibility to solve. We haven't been given a lot of good tools to do so, frankly. But again, we cannot shrink from the responsibility, and that's why I'll cast an aye vote today. Thank you.
Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Madam President. And I just want to simplify this discussion, if I might. There's no silver bullet, one answer to solving homelessness. In fact, I think the more we break it apart and look at it and treat it as an issue that's probably a 50-pronged issue, the easier we'll find solving it is. This is just one step, and a relatively modest one. But we are doing two very simple things. One, we are trying to identify the worst places for homeless people to be, not to try to find them housing. We have like I said, 50 other steps that need to be taken, but where do you want them? Do you want them in front of schools? Do you want them in parks where children play? Do you want the ability to prioritize where they are? I think we do for our own safety, and in many cases for their safety. The second thing that this will do is I believe it will solve the problem of us having resources that are not accepted. Because when you're in a park and you say to folks that are homeless, in a week we're going to come and you'll have to leave because we're going to enforce. But we're going to offer you housing. More people will take that than the ones who have just had people stopping by and saying, here's a bottle of water, would you like some resources? We'd love to house you. And we've seen that in a couple of council districts that have done this. When they know they have to move, they're more likely to accept resources. So I think we will find once we do this in the areas that are most problematic, we will fill the resources that we have that have not been accepted and utilized. So in a way, I think we solve two problems, and that's a tiny piece of the problem. We make things a little more workable and a little more safe for our constituents and for folks that are homeless. And we take this step, but there's 50 other steps that we probably need to take to actually solve the problem. And we have to recognize that we can't not do one thing that's necessary and say, well, we didn't solve the problem, so we can't take this step. Because we're going to wind up doing a lot of things that look modest, But if we're actually going to solve the problem, we have to take it a step at a time and not say, well, that didn't solve the whole thing. We need to do many things, and this is a first very logical step that I believe will only be helpful for the homeless and our constituents and be a win-win for everybody.
All right, thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you very much, Madam President. Thank you, colleagues, for an insightful debate. Each of us represents a district that, if it were a city, would be the third largest city in the county of Los Angeles. And we come from a widely diverse array of backgrounds. We represent a widely diverse set of constituents. We represent different geographies, and that's what makes this deliberative body, I think, effective, because we have many different perspectives that are reflected around this horseshoe, and we saw that in our discussion today. And I think one of the things that has come out of this discussion is, for me at least, is when I hear widely divergent viewpoints being expressed about a thing that we're about to vote on, and I agree with something that every single person said, that's a sign that we're making some progress in trying to come up with consensus viewpoints in this widely divergent set of concerns. So I have heard many people express their reluctance today about this. I have heard many people say that this is not a perfect ordinance. Of course it isn't. I've yet to see the perfect ordinance. I've yet to see anything that this council or any other legislative body has had an opportunity to vote on that had the slightest bit of controversy that was perfect. Solutions are usually not perfect in a democratic society. Our goal is not perfection. Our goal is progress. Our goal is representing our constituents in a way that develops consensus, that provides hope, that provides a viewpoint that maybe we can, as a government body, make progress towards the goals that we've all described today. And today's vote will do that. It is not going to solve homelessness. There's many other things that we still need to do and will continue to do. This is one small step in a direction of addressing one small part of the larger homelessness issue. But I think if we continue to say, well, we can't do, if we do this, what about that? If we take this step, well, we're not addressing these other things. That is a recipe for continued inaction that justifies our inaction because, well, if my solution is not going to be before this council first, then I'm going to be apprehensive about other things. I'm not going to support that. We can't keep doing that. We have to find where there is consensus, take that step, and then find the other things that we have consensus for. And you know, that many members, Mr. Bonin most eloquently of all, described today. You know, the things that we can all agree on, let's get moving. Because we can't wait for it all to be done before anything is done. Especially, by the way, in an environment where the root causes of this homelessness challenge that this city is confronting are in many ways not within the control of the people who sit around here. Mr. Harris Dawson kind of, touched upon some of the historic things that we're having to respond to that we don't have the tools to address. We can't provide substance abuse counseling on demand. We can't provide more federal subsidy for affordable housing. We can't provide some of these things that we expect our federal government, especially, and our state government and our county government to step up and start doing. We're responding to a nationwide crisis of opioid addiction. Was that the result of actions of the city of Los Angeles? Of course not. But now we have to respond to it. So we're not going to solve homelessness so long as our partners in other levels of government are not stepping up and significantly investing much more in those root cause issues. But we have to do what's before. We have to do what is available for us to do. As Mr. Cedillo said, this is not the art of the perfect, it's the art of the possible. And this ordinance will give us another step forward to give hope to our constituents that there are solutions available. But we can't stop. We'll do this, and then we will continue to move forward on all the other issues that have been mentioned today. So, Madam President, I first want to thank you for your leadership throughout this process, because none of this is easy. Part of this is, like everything else around homelessness, is going to be wildly unpopular with certain different segments of our population. Certain segments of our population, one side or the other, will no doubt scream on social media, will protest. Mr. Bonin will get protesters on both sides of this issue. I guarantee it. Many of the rest of us will. That's just the nature of democracy. But Madam President, you have helped this council, I think, find its way through to an important first step in what will continue to be a very difficult struggle of dealing with nuanced, complicated, difficult issues that can't be boiled down into bumper sticker slogans, that can't be boiled down into memes, that have to be dealt with, you know, with nuance and with compassion and with persistence, because that's what we have to do as policymakers. And so with that, I would ask that you vote aye on 76C, aye on 76A, no on 76B, and that we support the underlying ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam President. And I rise to acknowledge some of the contributions that many of my colleagues made today. And first, I'd like to start with Mr. Bonin. You know, I want to thank you for reminding us of that important lived experience, because so often people forget where they come from. And it is those experiences that have brought many of us to want to serve on this body today. And so I want to really thank you for sharing your story and reminding us all, because it's too often, and because of this challenge and this crisis, that individuals start to get compassion fatigue. And it's a very big and real struggle that our communities face, and so I want to just thank you for that. But I also want to acknowledge Mr. Buscaino, because as much as we want to talk about how I'm so glad that we're finally having this conversation here and really ready to make a decision, your persistence in raising this concern and raising this issue is why we're here today. What's unfortunate is that we could have been doing this months ago, and so to Ms. Rahman's point, I think, I want us to acknowledge that for the purposes of transparency to our constituents, that here we are on the day of the last day of council here, that this, regardless of the outcome, will not be effectuated today, because the ordinance still has to have another read. And so I just want us to be really clear and transparent about the action and what occurs today, because whatever the outcome, it's still going to be delayed action. And so I want to urge us to continue that very difficult task of not trying to find the perfect, but keep moving the ball forward, even when the conversations are difficult, because we will not always agree. But failure is not an option, and having this delayed conversations, waiting for these perfect outcomes, is, we can't delay the conversations, as difficult as they are. And so I just, like so many of us, we're frustrated. And our constituents have clearly shared the frustration with all of us. Today is the time to act. It is one of many continued steps that we will make in this effort. And to Mr. Harris Dawson's point, and I want to thank you for you know, the history lessons of how we're still trying to recover from some very destructive policies that have occurred in our past. And that history should always inform us on how we move forward. But again, colleagues, I wanted to have that kind of transparent moment of saying that when we talk about ordinances and with the delays of when we brought this moment forward today, we are still not in a position to effectuate it immediately. And so I just want us to be really clear and transparent about that conversation because we should have been having it sooner. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez, and thank you, Mr. Krikorian, for those very kind words. It's really not necessary. I think it comes with the job, but I do appreciate the acknowledgement and that of my staff as well. But I do want to say that I think it's important for this council to take the necessary and deliberate action to deal with the situation on our streets. I've heard a lot of you talk about, we continue to have this conversation over and over again, but at the beginning of this year, I was very deliberate at what the next 6 months would look like. And the wide range of discussions we were going to have in this council chambers to find a comprehensive approach to getting to making sure that Angelenos get off the streets and into safe housing. That was the commitment. And this council has heard presentations on outreach, sanitation protocols, LASA governance, we're going to continue to have. Then there's multiple other areas that we still need to address. And these conversations are difficult, and these conversations have taken longer than 6 months. I've been on this council for 8 years, and we continue to have the same conversation. Right, Mr. Buscaino, you and I got elected around the same time. We continue to have conversations about 5611 and how to make it perfect. And we continue to have these debates, and quite frankly, if we do not make a decision today, we're going to take even longer to come to that decision. We're going to take many more years, and more people are going to die in the streets because of the inaction of this council not to make difficult decisions. I think it's upon ourselves to take ownership of the situation that's in our streets, and we have the ultimate responsibility to finally set rules and regulations for the public right away. I think for some of us who represent communities of color, we have seen this problem exacerbate, and we continue to talk about it. You want to talk about moving encampments from one area to another? I think Ms. Rodriguez and I can talk about what that looks like in the valley in terms of the number of homeless people that get moved into our particular districts. And we've seen that since we were elected, and we saw that even before we were on this council. So if we want to be honest with each other about this issue, then let's just be as outraged about the people across the street when it comes to mental health dollars and detox beds. Where are those dollars? When are they coming? This council took action to build 6,500 beds in record time. I'm still waiting to figure out what the folks across the street are going to do in terms of detox beds and mental health dollars to service the people who are living on our streets every single day dying. Where's the outrage when it comes to that? That is our failure in society, is that we continue to hide behind false pretenses and narratives when these folks cannot help themselves. And what about the communities of color? What about the immigrants who come to this country with absolutely nothing and bust their asses working to lift their families? Why don't they have a right to a safe park? Why don't they have a right to a safe library? Why can't they enjoy a day in their neighborhood because they don't have the money to go to Disneyland or the beach? Where are those voices? They don't have a hashtag? They don't show up at 2 o'clock in the morning to vandalize someone's home? They don't have a Twitter handle? Where are those voices, colleagues? Those are the people we should be standing up for. The working poor who work their butts off to make our city work every single day. The people who sacrificed over the last year going into work because they don't have the luxury to work from home. Those are the people that are missing in this conversation. So I will not live in fear, and I will not legislate in fear. So if you want to come for me, you can go ahead and do that. Do it all day long on Twitter. I am a working mom who happens to be sitting in this chair, and I work 24/7 and a half for the last 16 months. So if you want to come after me for taking a recess or a so-called vacation, you can go ahead and do that as well. But members, be proud of the fact that we're finally making a decision today and taking a difficult vote that has taken us years and years to get here. And for that, I ask for an aye vote. Madam Clerk? All right, we're going to go ahead and vote on 76C, and then we're going to take 76B and 76A in that order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on 76C. Please open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay, let's move on to 76B. Let's open the roll. I'm sorry, 76B. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
2 ayes, 13 noes.
Okay, let's
Motion
move on to
76.
76A. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and vote on the entire item, 76C, I'm sorry, 76 as amended. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 2 noes.
And that'll be 76 as amended by motion 76A and 76C.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, members, we're going to go ahead and vote on the following items as well. Let's vote on items 1 through 4, 6 through 19, 26 through 26, 21 through 26, and 28 through 53. Let's go ahead and open the roll on those items. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, let's move on to items 54 through 57, 79 through 63, 66 through 68, 71 through 72, items 75, and 77 through 81. Oh, I'm sorry, we already took 81. 77 through 80. Let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Let's go ahead and take up item number 20 as amended by Mr. Harris Dawson, second by Mr. Krikorian. So open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Let's go ahead and vote on take up item 58. This was called special by Mr. Blumenfield.
Jose is available on screen or not, but let me just, this motion, I want to offer my congratulations to Keith Mose on his appointment as Executive Director of Streets LA and express my strong support for his nomination. As Assistant Director since 2016 and Chief Operations Officer, Keith has been responsible for the core functions of Streets LA, a pavement preservation program responsible for more than 23,000 lane miles of city streets. In that role, he has coordinated street construction activities with hundreds of city and non-city agencies, not to mention the demands of those of us around this horseshoe. Keith is also responsible for the Bureau's emergency operations, emergency response, and is leading the Bureau's efforts to provide all Angelenos with employment opportunities, including those who face barriers to employment. A little history on our new general manager. After serving in the U.S. Army, he entered city service in 1989 as a light truck operator, and he steadily advanced through the ranks. Keith is incredibly well qualified by experience and his personal qualities to serve as executive director. It's always great to see general managers who started with the city in entry-level positions It sends a positive message to our entire workforce that city employment can offer limitless opportunities. It's also great to have somebody who knows every aspect of the job because he's done it. And on a more personal note, my office and I have worked with Keith for many years, not just City Hall, but our district office, always managing to find the help we need to address problems with streets. He is someone who has a can-do attitude, the kind of attitude we want in a general manager. He's a man of his word, and he will always be a square dealer. It's a rare commodity these days, and it's this kind of integrity that tells me he will have tremendous success as our next head of Streets LA. Definitely more success sooner than his beloved Las Vegas Raiders will ever see in the near future. So, congratulations, Keith. And the residents of this city are lucky to have you as a general manager, and I ask for your strong support of his nomination and confirmation. And there he is. Oh, I was waiting for you to pop up. All right.
Thank you. Keith, we haven't voted yet, but I want to give you an opportunity to say a few words if you want to.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Blumenfeld. I want to say, I know you haven't voted yet, but thank you for this opportunity. My 31 years of service at Streets LA has prepared me for this moment, as I'll provide continued leadership and continuity through this transition. I am honored to serve the public along with the women and men of Streets LA at a higher level. I'm committed to workforce development, collaboration, inclusion, and equity. I'm going to enhance basic services through sustainability, innovation, and outside the box thinking to get the job done. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mose. And Mr. O'Farrell, would you like to say a few words, sir?
Thank you, Madam President. I've had the great pleasure and honor of knowing Keith since 2002. And as you just heard, he is a man of few words, but he is a man of incredible professionalism and action. And I can just attest that in the 13th District, his contributions to our public rights-of-way through his work in street services can be seen all over my district and, of course, all over the city, as Mr. Blumenfeld so succinctly described the attributes of Mr. Keith Mose. And Keith is not flashy at all. He's one of the sharpest dressers, but he is not flashy. So you can expect an incredible work product as the executive director of Streets LA. And Keith, I just wanted to rise and thank you publicly for being an amazing public servant, a quiet operator who just gets things done. The whole entire bureau is in really great shape with you, as are the residents of Los Angeles. Congratulations. I couldn't be happier to have you in this position, and I rise in support of this appointment. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. Mr. Harris Dawson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to rise to congratulate Mr. Mose and just point out to all of my colleagues that Keith is a true son of the 8th Council District, long on style, short on words, long on action. So congratulations, Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris Dawson. Mr. Lee?
Keith, just want to say congratulations. You know, for years and years and years, I've been telling you how you need to do a better job at selling yourself and touting all the amazing things that you're doing, yet you constantly refuse to do so. You let your work speak for you, and it's just great to finally see you in this position that we've been trying to fight for you for all these years, and just could not be happier. All of Council District 12 could not be happier that you're in this position that you so rightly deserve. You are someone, like everyone has said, a man of action, someone who just puts in the work and is a problem solver, and it's not about the accolades or singing their own praises, but it's about just making sure that the department does the job it needs to do. So thanks, Keith, and congratulations, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to join my council colleagues in congratulating Keith and let you know that you are absolutely beloved among my staff for how helpful you are and how much you get done for my district and without a doubt for the whole city. We were sorry to see your predecessor depart, but we are very confident that this department is in incredibly able hands And we want to express our appreciation for all the great work you've done over the years and your willingness to step up into this important position. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koretz, and congratulations, Mr. Mose. We look forward to continuing working with you. An extraordinary, not only person, but an amazing leader. So we all look forward to working with you. We're going to go ahead and take a vote on this item. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on item 58. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Congratulations. It's unanimous, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Rahman?
Just wanted to state on the record that I think I misvoted on 76C. So I just wanted to correct that.
76C?
Yeah.
You want to record your record as a yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and...
excuse me, for the record, Madam President, I'm sorry. This ordinance will be held over until Wednesday, July 28th for a second consideration.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and vote on items 64 and 65. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, let's move on to item 69 as amended by Mr. Lee and seconded by Mr. O'Farrell. Let's open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, let's move on to item 73. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes, 1 no.
Let's move on to item 74. Sorry, I misspoke. We already did 74. Madam Clerk, what's before us now?
The desk is clear. Council has motions for posting and referral. Motions will be posted on the City Clerk's website shortly after the meeting for public's viewing. To subscribe to receive copies of today's council motions to your email, please visit clerk.lacity.org.
Okay, those are posted and referred. Members, we're moving on to announcements. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, late last night we received news of an explosion of illegal fireworks that had been seized by LAPD during what was supposed to be a safe denotation. But something went terribly wrong and the bomb squad truck exploded. Many have said that it felt like an earthquake shook the city, far and wide. Not knowing what had happened, many neighbors ran from their homes with just the shirts on their backs, and they were terrified. In the aftermath, shattered glass from the homes and businesses, the destroyed vehicles, displaced 17 people. We were sent to the hospital, including neighbors and first responders. We have a triage set up at Trinity Park with the Red Cross, where I visited 8 family members this morning who had to leave their homes, and they, quite frankly, were just devastated. We owe it to them and our community to get the answers on what caused this terrible situation to occur in the first place. Thankfully, there were no loss of life, but at the same time, we need to take a hard look at what went wrong to make sure that it never happens again. One of the main questions my constituents and I have, we want to know why this happened and why it happened in such a densely populated residential area. So that's why I introduced the motion today to get a report back from the LAPD asking what caused the explosion and how to better protect the public and future ensure that a similar event doesn't occur in our city. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Price, and our sincere, thoughts and prayers are with everyone who was injured in yesterday's incident. So, anything we can do to help. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you so much, Mr. Price, for your motion. What it sadly underscores is the imminent danger, public safety risk that these illegal fireworks pose in so many of our communities, particularly for those of us with that have high fire severity zones in our district and hillside communities. I was informed by the chief of the tip that led to the confiscation of the 5,000 pounds of illegal fireworks at that location. And it occurred at the same time when I was administering a pilot in my district yesterday. We piloted the first city fireworks buyback program. And colleagues, I want to share because, you know, we were nervous about what the potential outcome would be, whether or not we would be successful. Other cities, Ontario, had launched similar efforts for over nearly a week's time and secured minimal participation from the public. But I want to thank the members of my community that helped to return over a 1/4 ton of illegal fireworks in the San Fernando Valley within a period of about 5 hours yesterday. And so, and I also want to thank the members of the community that provided the tip that led to LAPD confiscating and identifying that source of illegal fireworks in your district, Mr. Price. So I just want to remind everybody that as we celebrate the 4th of July holiday, that we need to make sure, and I know Mr. Blumenfield will likely talk about his huge fireworks extravaganza in his district, and of course Mr. Lee in yours, but we want to remind the public about the danger that these illegal fireworks present and pose to our communities, to our animals, our household pets, the trauma that is caused and exacerbated to our servicemen and women suffering with PTSD. And we want to encourage the public that if you are aware of a distributor of illegal fireworks or sales of it, please report it to the 877 Ask LAPD hotline so that it can be investigated, so that we get these dangerous explosives off the street. Clearly, we saw how devastating it was to a neighborhood in South Los Angeles, and we want to avoid any continued exposure to members of our community with these dangerous fireworks. So I want to encourage everyone to have a safe, happy 4th of July, and I'm hoping that we'll see less explosives in our city over the next few days. But we want to encourage everybody to go celebrate responsibly with some of the professional displays that are we're having in the San Fernando Valley and throughout the city near you. Thank you so much.
I hope so, Ms. Rodriguez, because last summer was out of control. Mr. Blumenfield.
Great, thank you, and great segue. Yes, I have 2 announcements. One is exactly that. Agree with you. We need to do everything we can to deal with the illegal fireworks, and one way to do that is to have a legal fireworks extravaganza. This year we are again doing the Blumenfield Fireworks Extravaganza at Warner Center Park. We typically get about 50,000 people. We're trying to, they're going to limit the numbers of people that can come into the fenced area this year, but it's still going to be quite an extravaganza, so I urge folks interested in celebrating in a safe, legal way and getting a great concert to come on down or come on by. That's announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, couldn't let this day go by without wishing you all a happy Canada Day. Yes, it is Canada's 153rd birthday today, and I want to wish the 44,000 plus Canadians that are living in Los Angeles a happy and joyous day. Canadian Americans are a largely overlooked minority in the vast landscape of Los Angeles' diversity. LA, after all, has no Montreal nor historic Canuck town. However, there are still more Canadians living in Los Angeles than there are in any town on Prince Edward Island, or for that matter, in all 3 of Canada's territories. And there are over 1 million throughout the United States coming from our largest trading partner. I suspect the Canadian Americans are a relatively invisible minority because both the US and Canada have cultural roots in Great Britain, and Anglo-Canadians are easily assimilated into Anglo-Americans. But compared to other English speakers, Americans are, as a whole, strangely deaf about the nuances of English dialects. To be sure, many, not all Angelino-Canadians and Anglo-American dialects are similar, but they're also recognizably different to anyone paying attention. I'm not sure I've ever heard an American do a convincing dialect except as, the gratuitous eh, or pronouncing about as a boot, or calling someone a hoser or something like that. But after the establishment of the border, some early Canadian immigrants came to the United States after having sided with the colonies during the American Revolution. And after 1867, large numbers of unskilled Anglo-Canadian laborers emigrated to the U.S. in search of manufacturing jobs, most settling in the border states of Michigan, New York, Massachusetts, Illinois, and Rhode Island. It was French Canadians, though, who were more likely than their Anglo counterparts to make their way here to the Golden State. There, a little piece of history for our neighbors to the north. And remember, they walk amongst us, even though we sometimes don't see them. My deputy chief is one of them. John Popach is Canadian. So let's wish all of them a happy Canada Day.
Oh, very, very, very nice, Mr. Blumenfield. Very nice. We just broke out in song, but let's go ahead and continue moving this meeting along. Any other announcements, members? Any other announcements? Mr. Cedillo, do you have an announcement? Any adjourning motions, members? Seeing none, our meeting is adjourned. Have a safe and wonderful 4th of July. Thank you.
Arrived at between the Attorney General of the state and whatever local police department he or she is looking at. So we're unique, not completely unique, but we're one of the few in California who has given our Attorney General that power. And so now we've got to see if that is going to have any teeth in it. What is going to happen in the way of investigation? And we've had investigations before. You know, we did have the consent decree in 2000, you know, after a Department of Justice investigation, and we were under that consent decree for over a decade, and yet here we are. You're right, it was after that we had the Black Lives Matter movement rise, and then, you know, everything that's happened subsequently.
In terms of the LAPD, are they doing things right, in your opinion?
They're resisting the fundamental demand that's been made by the activists and protesters in the street that you heard coming out last summer, and that was to unbundle the police. They are doing too many things. I belong to a group called LEAP, Law Enforcement Action Partnership. They used to be Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. They're current and former chiefs, lieutenants, captains, all the way down to rank and file, who say we recognize that in this country we've given the police too many tasks. We've saddled them with too many burdens, right? We've made them our street level social workers. Rather than spending at the front end on care and concern for our citizens, providing affordable housing, affordable health care and the like, we allow criminogenic conditions to fester. And then when crime comes out of those criminogenic conditions, which is very foreseeable, we make police our problem solvers. Yes. We send them in, and we make our jails the receptacles of our social failures. And so now the police are thrown in this nearly impossible position when we do that to them of trying to move our social failures. Every crime is a social policy failure, can be looked at that way, from the street to the jail cells, and they're creating a reservoir of resentment in the process between them and the communities that they police.
But there are efforts underway in the city of LA, say, to send social workers on certain calls or folks who can deal with the homeless, and it doesn't have to be a police officer. So
That's
Is-
a move in the right direction.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. So we are here in LA moving in the right direction.
Oh, absolutely. Those are moves in the right direction. But we have to be really foundational in making these moves and recognize that we have to not just stop with dealing with mental health crises or the houseless problem, as we have been using police way too much with the houseless problem, but going after motor vehicles.